This Wednesday. Thanks for being with us. Time to party on, Wayne.
Party on, guys.
Excellent. Excellent. It is Wednesday. We instituted this last Wednesday when you were gone. It's Wrestling Wednesday. It's Wrestling Wednesday. Jeff, I am thrilled because I can hear every now and again just like some rattling through the glass in these soundproof booths that we are in. I heard the rattling of some wrestling music being put into the system today.
Yeah, we got some doozies. We got some classics.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I better have Brett Michaels today. I was very disappointed last week.
Brett Michaels?
Shawn Michaels.
There we go.
Golly.
Same person.
No, not even
Not even close.
One's a sexy boy. The other one,
Also,
a very
let's face
sexy
it.
boy. I want some Shawn Michaels. I want the Heartbreak Kid. We need that today. So we will have some wrestling music. If we miss anything, let us know. The Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. YouTube.com/1080am The Fan, or the Twitch channel. Twitch.com/1080am The Fan. We have comment sections in all of those spaces. Or you can tweet us at Danny and Dusty, at Danny Meringue, at Dusty_Hera.
At for a buck.
What is it? Jeff Rust 5.
The Rust 503.
The Rust 503. That sounds. Your Twitter handle sounds like the name of a dispensary. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
I don't
Only
know why,
fresh local flour.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but
It's Chronic 185.
I mean,
it sounds like it, like the Rust 503. Okay, yeah, this is where it be, man. But yeah, you can tweet us. We'll let Rust cook on the music today. How's everybody doing?
doing good.
We're doing good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm feeling splendid. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm watching a new show.
What are you watching?
I know very little about the sport of rugby.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variation to rugby.
Well, yeah, but there's they did like a Drive to Survive full swing esque show on Netflix. It's called Six Nations Full Contact.
I didn't know that.
I didn't really know anything about the Six Nations. I'm in. They follow each a little bit of each team in the Six Nations rugby, and they go behind the scenes and you get full detail. You start learning who some of these dudes are. I am totally full. I watched 4 episodes last night. I was just locked in to Full Contact. Those guys are psychos. And all I could think of is, why are they not playing football? They look like they're making good money over there. But if we started really getting our hooks in, if OCU Manura was getting his hooks in London like he's supposed to be doing over there in NFL Europe, we could have some freakazoids.
Oh, there's some absolute monsters, and then I'm kind of close to this. My brother-in-law is on a national team playing rugby, so I've kind of seen this. He's the little Samoan. When you start looking at the guys that they come out of there with, you look at their teams. These guys are. I mean, they're all 6'3", 240 pounds who run 4.40s, and they don't have any sense for how physics should actually work.
Yeah, it's really interesting that how controlled they are. Everything in tackling in football now is kind of the heads-up tackling program has morphed into more of a rugby style. There's a guy who used to coach, what's his name, Rocky something, up for the Seahawks, and he was Pete Carroll's right-hand man. And Pete Carroll brought him in because they wanted to teach the rugby style tackling, and the Seahawks have been one of the best tackling teams in the NFL since they brought him in. But watching the controlled chaos that they play with, I'm floored by it. And so you always hear in any of these behind the scenes, whether it's Hard Knocks or Full Swing, was it Dahmen, right, the golfer in the Full Swing, who everybody fell in love with. We were like, oh man, that guy's awesome. You start learning these stories about dudes, and it's pretty cool. It's awesome to kind of a sport that you know nothing about just kind of jump into with these stories. So I'm in on it. It's really well done. And I didn't know all that much about the Six Nations, but I can tell you this right now. Italy and Wales suck at rugby. And they're saying they may kick them out of the Six Nations.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who you bring in, but they're going to bring in somebody else. Right now, Ireland and Scotland and France are really good. So,
Ireland strikes me as a country that should do like they're quite literally built for this.
They have a guy who looks like Shrek.
Yeah.
But I mean, he looks like Shrek. He's got the cauliflower ears. He's a squatty little body, and God be damned, that dude is a bruiser. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, that's a show I'm checking out now. Six Nations Full Contact. It's on Netflix.
I like it.
Highly recommend.
Ooh, highly recommend.
Highly recommend.
Wow.
I will give that the triple D stamp of approval.
Wow, we haven't had any D ratings lately.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm going triple D stamp of approval. You know, remember our movie rating scale: D, bad; double D, triple D. Yeah,
love it.
There we go. It's a triple D stamp of approval for Six Nations Full Contact.
Well, I just got a little confirmation here.
Okay.
We will have the Washington Post's Ben Golliver in studio here at 12:30.
Hey, 12:30.
Yeah,
Look, that's right around the corner.
Right around the corner. He's in town for the return of one Damon Lamont, Ollie Lillard Sr., and he's a guy who was there day one. So
quite literally day one.
Day one. So we'll have Mr. Day One himself and the OG and friend of the show.
Wow.
AG.
All right. Ben Golliver in studio 12:30. You'll love to see it. Beaverton's owned. I feel like I'm going to be over here on
outnumbered.
On the outside
you will
looking
have
in.
3 beers and high grads, and that's how it's going to go.
Yeah. I feel like Ben's life went far differently than you two.
Wow.
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 I mean, he went to didn't he go to Johns Hopkins or something?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I used to get high with Johnny Hopkins.
Exactly. You went to Willamette.
Yeah.
And that was good for you.
I did attend there.
And then you went to Portland State.
Some.
Yeah. But everybody's working out well. I mean, I think mostly well-adjusted humans. But let's not kid ourselves. Ben is the most well-adjusted person that will be here come 12:30.
Yeah.
Indeed. Also,
very
right?
fair.
Also written some books.
Yeah. And look, I brought my copy in. I want him to sign Bubble Ball.
You
for
got some
me.
Bubble Ball?
I got Bubble Ball. I want him to sign Bubble Ball for me. So NBA writer for the Washington Post, Beaverton's own, along with Ben Crane, Jeff Rust, and Danny Meringue. Ben Golliver will be here 12:30.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's distinguished alumni.
No, it is a distinguished
Anthony
alumni
Newman
list.
too.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Turns out being the biggest school in the state for 30 years produces just a lot of people.
Yeah, there's that. There's that. Who's the discus thrower too?
Mac Wilkins.
Yep, Mac Wilkins.
Gold medalist. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. We got Ben Petrick, so you guys shove it.
Got a couple NFL guys, a couple Major League Baseball players.
Yeah. We got Ben
Steve-
Petrick and we got Eric Ainge.
Steve Lyons and Jordan Sen and
We got Ben Petrick and Eric Ainge.
it's if you go to the
Take
Wikipedia
that,
for
Pipe and
Beaverton,
Smoke
drummer for Smashing Pumpkins, Mike Crane.
What? Really? Gosh.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some guy that is in a K-pop band that went to my high school.
No. What?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I don't know who it is. I have no idea
I
who
feel
it
like we need
is.
a crack research team on this one.
Yeah. He went to Glencoe High School. Apparently, and nobody else knew who he was really either. And they came filming a documentary or something at the school a handful of years ago with the guy. Nicholas Edwards. I think that's his name.
That sounds like a real strong K-pop name.
Yeah, I don't know. He won the Japanese singing contest Nodojiman the World. I don't know what that is, but he's huge in Japan apparently. So we have Nicholas Edwards too. I did not know that until right now.
huge in
Oh, we
Japan,
have Scott Ruick, Oregon State basketball coach,
Very nice.
women's basketball coach. It's not a distinguished alumni,
I like it.
but we got him. It's no Beaverton High.
Yeah.
I can tell you that much.
Don't sell yourself short. You're a tremendous slouch.
Who's the who is the most distinguished alumni of your high school?
Beaverton? I mean, Ben's up there for sure. Washington
I mean,
Post
has
writer.
it got to be Q?
It might be Anthony Newman.
Q, yeah.
I mean, Mac Wilkins is
Mac
his gold
Wilkins is a gold medalist. Elsie Wines is a multiple-time medalist with the women's water polo team.
No idea. I never heard that name before.
She's a year younger than me.
No idea.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of Olympians.
Steve Lyons did have himself a nice little Major League
Steve
Baseball
Lyons
Yeah,
was
career.
Steve Lyons was up there. He was my high school commencement speaker.
There's just not a lot of famous people from Oregon either.
Yeah.
You know?
And even a lot of time, the most famous ones that are from Oregon were Oregon transplants, you know?
Well, that's how we roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who is the president that lived out by you, Danny? I already forgot.
Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover, transplant to Oregon, right? like that's what we're talking about.
Well, didn't Harry Truman have a house somewhere like in the gorge or something?
No
It
idea.
was like he had or some lodge.
I'll take your word for that. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, somewhere in the gorge, I believe.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's probably Newman. It's probably Newman. Like there's a couple athletes for sure. James Fitzpatrick was a lineman for the Chargers. Obviously Newman with the Raiders. Couple Olympians.
Yeah.
Ari Shapiro actually went to Beaverton.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's probably.
I think he a year or two behind me.
yeah. So that probably it might be Ari.
Maybe there.
By
Yeah.
the way, I think I'm wrong. It's a different Harry Truman. Like his name's Harry Truman, but it's not Harry S. Truman. It's Harry R. Truman. So anyway, it was up near Mount St.
Quite
Helens.
literally one letter off.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
I remember seeing Harry Truman. I was like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. Well, who confuses? Well, now you know why there's a Harry S. and a Harry R. Truman.
Yeah, right?
Right?
That would apparently be why.
Damn. All right. Well, hey, let's sports, shall we? Because we got a lot of sports that we got to get to. Ben Golliver will be in studio with us. He'll be joining us 16 minutes from now. He is in town. He doesn't live here anymore. He's moved on.
He's a California boy.
He's a California. He's got a great tan these days. But he is in town because Damian Lillard returns to Rip City tonight in Moda Center. The letter O, he will be emotional. Will you? Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Wow, I've got the moves that really move 'em. I said, chill.
Yes.
Up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy.
That caught me off guard. That caught me off guard.
Boy, toy.
This is great.
I'm just a
All right, it's Wrestling Wednesday. This is Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels.
boy, toy.
You know,
Going through some
Heck
alumni
yeah.
lists, I just
Yeah.
Googled famous high school alumni in Oregon. Lincoln came up, and they've got Peter Jacobson,
yeah, that's good.
Matt Groening,
Yep,
Simpsons, and the creator of Zoloft, Kenneth Coe.
Oh, all right. All right.
There's some other ones on there, but I was just kind of scrolling through. They've got a couple admirals and some econs, and David Griggs, astronaut. Like Lincoln's up there pretty good right now.
Yeah, that is pretty good. I think Lincoln may be. Well, I mean, obviously, we're taking private schools out of this because I think Jesuit
wins.
and
Yeah.
Central Catholic
Yeah.
probably are pretty good too.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Dame's back in town tonight. We'll be joined by Ben Golliver coming up in 10 minutes from now from the Washington Post, NBA writer, formerly BlazersEdge.com.
Indeed.
But have you ever heard of it?
Yahoo?
Have you ever heard of BlazersEdge.com?
Yeah, no, definitely not the place that he got me started at.
Oh, okay.
Oh, weird.
Ben will join us 10 minutes from now because it's a big day in Portland, man. It's Dame's
all Dame
return.
all the time.
It's the Letter O's return as a Milwaukee Buck. He had an emotional arrival yesterday when Adidas named the gym in the basketball court after him, the first ever athlete to have a building or anything really named after him at the Adidas headquarters here in Portland. And he told you that he will be emotional, and like we know he will be. I'm just wondering, like, will fans, because he may be one of the most important figures in Blazers history.
I think he's probably one of the most important figures in this state's sports history,
Yeah,
to be honest.
yeah. I mean, he is a guy that you think of what he meant to the franchise after. You know, and it was a really weird time for the Blazers because it was the three pillars of B. Roy, LaMarcus, and Greg Oden.
Had just come
vanished.
crumbling down.
It vanished before it could even get off the ground. And
on the heels of the Jailblazers in the redemption era in that period. So it was
a franchise in flux.
Yes.
And they needed him in a desperate way. This fan base needed him in a desperate way. And the franchise, I mean, it let him down.
It did.
Because at every turn he delivered for this team.
I mean, right out of the gate, you had license to Lillard before he was ever a Trailblazer. If you go around the NBA, there's workouts and drafts that become kind of legendary. Dame's workouts are some of the best workouts I've ever heard anybody ever talk about.
Yeah.
Like that was part of it was beautiful job by his agency, Goodwin, and kind of getting that whole thing going. Mm-hmm. But his workouts were legendary. The only other ones that I've heard rival that are the Utah Jazz when they brought in Donovan Mitchell. Their player personnel folks told the media that were there that if it gets out how good this workout is, we will ban you from this building. That's how good Dame's workouts were. They were so from even before he was a Trailblazer, they knew which way they were going to go. Neil O'Shea drafted Damian Lillard, but he had been in that position, I believe, for 4 weeks after taking over.
Chad Buchanan
did all of the work. The Blazers knew which way they were going if he was there. And then that guy goes out there, crushes Summer League, just shows with unabashed resolve of no, I'm that guy. Then opening night against this is going to be fun Lakers of Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, goes out there and obliterates them. From the jump. To be able to do that, to start that high, and there wasn't an expectation that Dame didn't live up to.
Yeah.
And now
the franchise didn't, though.
Yes, but I mean, Dame lived up to every part of it and then some.
Absolutely.
And that's just how often can you say that about a player? LeBron's the easy one.
LeBron. Well, Kobe was too.
Kobe. Yep.
Kobe was absolutely that guy. I think that in the part about it, even that kind of separates Dame from Kobe, is without controversy too.
Yes.
without controversy. There was Damian Lillard was here in Portland, and nothing was ever in doubt of the character of the person, the player, and you never had a worry that anything was going to go sideways on you. And I think those guys are very rare in sports, right? I mean, because when you get to a certain level and when you get to a certain status, there's always somebody that's going to try to knock you down too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that Damian Lillard is a person without faults, because every person is, because we are human.
Yeah.
But nothing ever made him, the organization, or the city embarrassed.
No, never. And
That is very hard to do, especially in a city where the microscope is on you in Portland, like nowhere else.
You can't go anywhere
because everybody says small market. We know
it's a fishbowl.
We know if you step in it the wrong way, it's the biggest story in town.
Yes, and
especially coming off the heels of the Jailblazers.
Yes, 100%. And Dame was always aware of that, and he didn't avoid it because of the fear of that, but because he was above that.
Yeah.
Look, there's a difference between what LeBron does and what Dame does. I'm not talking about on the court. I'm talking about off the floor type stuff. LeBron sits there with his book on page 6 of whatever book he wants to be filmed reading before a game. Dame is more natural, certainly, but it's put together. Do you think that was that it was coincidence that Dame got off that Sprinter van last night or yesterday afternoon at Adidas wearing red and black? Do you think that was a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
No, everything he does. You know why this guy, who's 6'2.5", 6'3" from Weber State, who is a 3-star prospect, who was unrecruited and unheralded, and Phil Beckner, his trainer, told him he wasn't worth it and broke him down. Do you know why that guy is going to go in the Hall of Fame as first ballot? Because everything he does is measured.
Yeah.
He's got his security team, his marketing team, his business team, his workout team, his coaches. Phil Beckner flies out to train him. His marketing staff comes out to brief him. They go do their trips to China to build his everything he does is measured. But it's with a sense of realness. It's not fake. It's branded, but it's real. And there's just so little, look at the stars of since Damian Lillard's come in the league that have faltered. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Name one that hasn't. I think Giannis is probably it.
Giannis is a great one.
But LeBron stepped in it with the decision, and that pissed everybody off.
Even Giannis is he's kind of cut from that same mold of the genuineness. It's it's manufactured and it's curated, but it's real.
But it started out as very, very, very real. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And I think you could put Jokic in that same category too. But there's just how many times has Luke already stepped in it?
Yeah.
How many times has Book already stepped in it? Anthony Edwards has been in the league 2 years and he cannot stop stepping in it. Steph is probably the other one.
Embiid stepped in it a few times as well.
Yeah. But I mean,
Steph is a great one. Steph is a phenomenal one.
But there's just so few of those guys.
Yeah,
and guess look what they all have in common. Look where they all came from.
Yeah, small schools or overseas.
Or there's a different level of adjustment and expectation.
Yeah. Maturity. Too.
Yes, there was
maturity.
Yes, and I think that is such a big part of Damian Lillard's story is not only his greatness but his maturity as a not just a basketball player but as a professional.
How hard are you going to cry?
The thug tear is going to come out.
Don't try to say it's Thug.
No, I'm talking about the one that just leaks out. Just the one leak to the corner.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's gonna be there. It's gonna get me. Look, I cover the guy, and I try to be objective and all that, but it's not just a guy I cover. He's a friend.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be there.
RJ chiming in on the Vancouver Ford text line. We'll be cheering for Dame all night, as well as the Blazers. It is what it is. Lillard is a Blazer for life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good.
If you're cheering for Dame to win tonight, I have nothing against you. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Farhad says, "Am I a weirdo for rooting for the Bucks to win it all because of Dame?" No. I think that is. I think we all kind of are. It is a weird situation to be in where it's like everybody says yeah, I want my ex to go on and do great things, but we don't really mean it. I think we kind of do with this one.
I want Dame to go. I want Dame and the Bucks to go play the Nuggets and give that team the series they should have had last year with Giannis healthy. And I hope they go in there and they beat the crap out of him. And I hope he gets a ring. And then when it's all said and done, he gets to go, all right,
All right.
I'm going to come home.
We're good. All right, let's talk about this with Ben Golliver, who is here from day one, covering Damian Lillard in his ascension to being one of the best players in NBA's history, top 75 of all time. Ben sits in with us in studio after Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers wrap up their homestand as Damian Lillard returns for the first time in a Bucks uniform. Shaedon Sharpe still out for Portland. They are 10.5-point dogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. 7 o'clock tip on ESPN and Root Sports. Blazers are 14-33, the fifth worst record in the league. NBA announced they're expanding the draft into a two-night event beginning this year, June 26th and 27th. Round one will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, with round two at ESPN Seaport District Studios in Manhattan. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Seahawks hiring Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their new head coach. The now youngest head coach in the league getting a 6-year deal. The Ravens were number one in points allowed, sacks, and takeaways in 2023. And multiple reports say John Angelos has agreed to sell the Baltimore Orioles to a group led by Carlyle Group Inc. co-founder and Baltimore native David Rubenstein for $1.725 billion. Cal Ripken Jr. also a part of the purchasing party. The sale must be approved by 75% of owners, who are scheduled to meet next week in Orlando. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The playoffs, the big game. Watch and wager on all the action at Spirit Mountain Casino. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Rose Garden Report with host Sean Highkin. Download the Rose Garden Report on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get
All right, we are back here with Ben Golliver in studio, Washington Post, NBA writer, author. I just got my book signed, Bubble Ball, the author of Bubble Ball. He went to the bubble. He was locked in a room. We were actually briefly talking about his experiences, not just in the bubble, but the Tokyo Olympics as well.
Abroad.
Ben, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
It was my pleasure. You said the Washington Post, but come on, more importantly, Beaverton High School.
Yeah, we talked about this at the beginning of the show.
We went through the list of illustrious. There's three of us. It's you, me, and Rust. Rust was 96?
94.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying, though.
Well, tough break, Dusty. Let the Beavers in the studio, man.
I know. It's like a Metro League. I'm just getting ganged up on over here as the Glencoe guy.
Yeah.
But you are here, and you're back in town for Damian Lillard's return. We were just talking about the emotions that are going to be in Moda Center tonight on Dame's part, and a lot of the fans too. You were here and you were covering the team when Dame was drafted and got into the NBA. What is your first memory of Dame as a prospect and a Portland Trailblazer?
Well, I remember being real skeptical of Dame coming out of college because he had injury issues, because he'd been in college for 3 or 4 years, because it was a small school. Like, those are all the kinds of questions you have to ask during the pre-draft process. And then you start to get these overwhelmingly positive feedback about his interviews, his workouts, just his character, how he's carrying himself when he's meeting the front office and ownership. And you're just like, wait a minute, where's the truth here, right? Like, because this feels like a lot of red flags on one side, which wound up all not mattering whatsoever, and then a lot of like really positive green flags on the other side, which wound up kind of carrying the franchise for a decade. I think the other thing that was going on in that time period was like the draft was kind of tough, right? Like, you get B-Roy, that's a home run, but then it turns out not to be a home run. You get Aldridge, that's a home run, and turns out maybe to be like standing double, maybe a triple, right?
Yep.
You get Odin, that turns out to be, 3 strikeout basically. And so I think there was some concern like in that time period of just like, well, what's next? Is there going to be a guy who's at that spot in that draft who could really carry a franchise? So I had probably lower expectations than most. Obviously, that was the Anthony Davis draft. Yeah. And once you realize you're not getting him, you're kind of just hoping, well, at that spot, like, 5-6 range, like usually that's not franchise level guys. And almost immediately during his rookie season, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's mature and polished, just like they promised during the pre-draft process. And he just hit the ground running, and that's really what I remember is not very many point guards come in as ready as he was and actually do it, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing about this, Ben, and being there from the beginning and watching this franchise go through the post Jailblazers, the Sebastian Telfair, the missing on Chris Paul, missing on Darren Williams. Yeah, you get Brandon, yeah, you get LaMarcus, and yeah, you get the hope with Greg. But there was that one thing that we kept, it was the joke on Blazers Edge, the point guard of the future.
Right.
And it was like, is this guy going to be that guy? What was it like to kind of watch somebody, even though LaMarcus had that kind of back and forth of not necessarily a power struggle, but looking at Dame assuming the mantle of the point guard leader? What was that like to kind of watch through the initial stages after Portland had just had that vacancy, really, since Damon?
No, that's a great point. That was a whole nother layer to that uncertainty was like Jared Bayless didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
Raymond Felton, still a legend. I still hear about the cupcake jokes here 10, 15 years after that time period, right? So not only did the Blazers kind of have this center curse, which has kind of been hanging, right? But it did feel kind of like the point guard was just never going to get solved, right? Like, forget about the point guard of the future. Can they just get a competent point guard? Is it even going to be possible? And so here he comes in, and it was always quiet leadership. I felt like with Brandon Roy, there was kind of a walk-the-walk leadership style too, but every once in a while he'd raise his voice and have a lot to say in post-game interviews. I think with Dame, there was a lot of respect towards his veteran teammates in terms of not trying to steal the team from a LaMarcus Aldridge, right? Not trying to overshadow guys who were older than him, but also being ready to hold his own, and being ready to take big shots in big moments, not always deferring in those kinds of spots like some young players do. And I do think it goes back to just his unusual path to the NBA. He was older, and he was definitely wiser, and he was more professional in his habits than most rookie point guards. And so I think the questions about like, could this guy handle it? Probably lasted 3 weeks, maybe if that. And it was like, all right, well.
Which is insane to think about.
Yeah, it never happens.
Not even the context of like Portland, but like point guard in general. You go down the list of modern Pantheon point guards. I think that list is probably him, Chris Paul.
Well, Steph, I mean,
Steph was kind of
it's a fascinating comparison with Steph because it took Steph 3-4 years
because
to get to that
ankles
point.
in Monta.
You couldn't count on him, right? You had the Monta Ellis factor, like you mentioned, but more so just like, is he going to be out there every single night? And the durability from Dame, especially earlier in his career, was insane. You know, he was out there every single game. And I definitely remember that too. There was a reliability, a consistency to early Lillard that, again, just kind of wise beyond his years.
You know, we look at Portland and what Golden State did. Golden State was a mess when Steph got there, right? And they got rid of Monta Ellis, and they said, we're committing to this. We're committing to this core. The Blazers were unable to kind of get over the hump. How do you remember? Because how will you remember this Blazers era when Dame was here as the franchise? Because they tried, but they never truly did right by him to build the winning and contender around him.
Well, it was interesting because Paul Allen, you know, during his time as an owner, there was multiple periods where he would do anything, pay any bill, take any step he possibly could, take risks on players from a character standpoint to try to put a team that could win a championship on the court. And I don't know if it was because he was kind of later in his life, if he had other things going on. I don't know exactly why, but I never felt like they went and made the all-in move at any point during, you know, Lillard's prime. And I think one challenge was LaMarcus just kind of up and left, right?
Yeah.
So whatever planning they had around the two of them, which was a nice quality duo, very bankable duo, sort of went out and they had to kind of go to backup plans. And it never felt like those backup plans had the goal of being like a Warriors team where you're trying to win the championship and doing whatever you possibly can. I mean, the luxury tag bills that the Warriors have paid here the last 5 years are crazy, right?
Nuts.
And very few owners are willing to do that. Paul Allen would have been one of those owners, and it just felt like, you know, maybe, you know, his commitment just waned a little bit there towards the end. Maybe we'll never know. It could also have just been a management vision thing, right? The idea of like, if you have a small market organization, they're consistent winners, they're always in the mix. That's a win in and of itself. You're seeing the same thing right now in Indiana. That's what they're trying to build, right? They're thinking, we've got Halliburton and Siakam. Those guys aren't going to win championship. Come on, nobody really believes that, right? But they can make the playoffs for the next 8 years in a row, and their fans are going to have a team to be proud of. I think that's sort of what their goal was. And it's a shame because, you know, Lillard is now on a team that's willing to fire their coach after 40 games, you know, to chase that championship.
With the second best offense in NBA history.
To go all out for that title. And, you know, I think his best years are behind him, in my opinion. And, you know,
I don't think that's unfair to say. No.
Yeah. And not by a ton. It's not like he's dramatically fallen off. But, you know, you go back 3-4 years, he's probably a better player than he is now, more efficient shooter, certainly. And to just know that he didn't have that kind of push when he needed it and they didn't align it up, it's going to be always one of those what could have been things, not just for him, but for fans too, I think.
You've got like a nice tan. You've got a great head of hair now. Like you grew out your hair.
Yeah, a little bit.
You used to have like the shaved head. It was like the Ben Golliver special.
Yeah.
LA's changed you, man.
I hope not. So the tan, you know, that's just, you just fall into that.
Right,
when you live in California. The hair thing, you know, that was actually a pandemic deal too. When I was writing that book that you mentioned, I have always really preferred the short hair. And my challenge to myself was I couldn't get a haircut until the book was sent in and filed. So I didn't cut my hair for like 6 or 7 months. It was so weird. I mean, it was like kind of emo. You would not recognize me at all. And I never had to go in public because it was like the heart of the pandemic. So that haircut was my favorite haircut of my life. It's just a little bit longer. It's
I
not
like
long.
it. It's a good look, man. It's a good look. Can you stick around with us for a little bit longer?
Oh, of course.
All right. We're just getting going with Ben Golliver, not just Beaverton High School, but the Washington Post as well.
Indeed.
All right.
Slightly bigger publication.
I'm just going to say Beaverton High School and then also the Washington Post NBA writer. He's in studio with us. This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
It's time for a Pro Football Report, the inside story on America's favorite sport. Brought to you on The Fan by the Farmer's Dog. Fresh, human-grade dog food delivered right to your door.
3rd and 9, Chiefs at their own 46.
Give me the ball. Give me the ball. If the Chiefs get a first down, it's over.
It's game over. Mahomes will throw it. In the pocket, he's launching one long.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling catches the ball at the Raven 30.
How about that? Patrick Mahomes saying, give me the ball. Crunch time. You want the ball in your game changer's hands. And right there, you heard Jim Nantz say it. Game is over if he delivers on this 3rd down and 6. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and here they are icing it against the Baltimore Ravens and now preparing for their 4th Super Bowl trip in the last 5 seasons. This Pro Football Report on the Fan is brought to you by Farmer's Dog. Fresh, human-grade dog food delivered right to your door. Farmer's Dog.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time with Isaac and Sue.
Some sort of cattle dog, but according to the American Kennel Club, they knew when that dog was born, and they're saying this is legit, 31 years old.
Vancouver Ford text line, HGH and steroids. The dog was all hopped up.
Maybe.
It's like the Barry Bonds of dogs.
The other thing about the dog is it looks kind of fat.
Well, again, that's the HGH. It's all bloated.
The home of Prime Time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan.
Hey guys, Valentine's Day is coming up. Listen to this deal for fan listeners. LaRogue Brothers have 1-carat diamond stud earrings, only $595. The entire store is on sale with savings up to 70%. LaRogue's in Clackamas and Tigard and LaRogue.com.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
In studio by Ben Golliver, Beaverton High School grad, Washington Post as well. You have risen from the guy who Blazers Edge all the way up and kind of climbed, and now you cover the NBA on a national level. Do you find yourself having to defend Portland and the Trailblazers? What is the perception when you go around the country of the Portland Trailblazers?
Well, I think you have to kind of introduce them to people, first of all. I think especially after this trade, everybody's just kind of fallen off the map, right? And I think they look at this roster and they say, well, DeAndre Ayton was supposed to be maybe battling for an all-star spot. Well, that didn't happen. He didn't get the numbers that we expected with him being sort of the number one guy, at least the number one salary guy. People look at Scoot and they're saying, what's going on with Scoot? Why isn't he playing more? Why isn't he starting? Why isn't he getting the ball? Why isn't he putting up big numbers like a Victor Wembanyama or a Brandon Miller? So I think the perception right now is, they're just off, stage left. I think I was actually impressed by the level of vitriol that I heard from some Blazers fans here in Portland last night when I went to this event for the Dame Photography Gallery. There's a lot of people who are a little bit feisty. I don't know if you guys are in the same spot mentally with this team, but
there's been certainly a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, and so I think that probably gets lost. I think that people from the outside look at Portland and they say, well, it's going to be a tough market to really build a winner, small market, all those disadvantages. Once you lose a star like Dame, you're going to have to give a team like that 3 years to kind of turn it around. And everybody else is able to check out. And fans here, it's sort of like, well, how are you going to check out on the Blazers? That's what we talk about 365. And so I think that's probably the biggest gap between national perception and local perception. But there's been some cool stories like Walker. This guy, what a stud! That's a nice little find for Portland. Scoot, there's been some flashes too, and I would love to. I mean, this is sidetracking things. I would love to see them trade Brogdon. I know that's kind of going back and forth right now. When's the right time to do it? You got to get Scoot back on the ball. You got to get Scoot back in, a confident headspace where he feels like this is going to be his team, not where he's kind of stuck in between. And so that would be the move I would make if I was Portland. And I think if they do trade Brogdon at the deadline, you're going to see more national discussion about, okay, they're entering the next phase, because right now it's kind of this purgatory. People don't know what to make of the Blazers.
Right.
I think there's a lot of that to that, and just kind of discussing that with the Blazers organization, but around the league, I think a lot of what people are saying right now is that, is Scoot ready for that spot? And they're trying to figure out, like, are they just trying to bring him along slowly because it is going to be a 2 or 3 year process, and they don't want to try to force it or rush it, because they tried that on that road trip where they just got absolutely shellacked and 62-point loss.
We're glad they came home from that trip, right? It kind of seemed like 50-50.
Maybe they should stay out on the trip a little bit longer. You don't come home until you win. Kind of coming back to Dame, what are you were there day one as he takes this mantle, just kind of progressing through Dame's kind of return now, when he takes over kind of for LaMarcus, and LaMarcus leaves, goes to San Antonio, and it's now Damian Lillard's team. And that team coming into that season, the over-under for Vegas is 26.5 wins, and you get to see the first real Dame time era take. What kind of stands out from that first run of that era?
Well, the 26.5 is what stands out, because I think there was a lot of people thinking it could go under coming into that season, right? Because, Damian Lillard, I think at times was viewed maybe more as a one-way player at that stage. And it's like, how are you going to throw him out there with no front court help? How is that? Maybe it's going to translate to numbers for him, but is it going to translate to wins? And again, with Aldridge, just so bankable. I mean, everybody knows he's a 2010 every single night, and you're looking around to the front court saying they don't have any replacements for that, right? And so what people underestimated was his ability to scale his own offense immediately, right? And take on the type of superstar level burden that became more common in the next couple of years around the league. But at that time, it was not super duper common to just like throw your superstar to the wolves and say, get us every last basket, right? I mean, Harden came along and did that. We're seeing guys like Luka and Joel Embiid have these huge usage seasons. Russell Westbrook, another player kind of in a similar era doing things like that. But with Lillard, I think that people overlooked him. He's a little guy. He's not as big and physical as some of these star level players who are handling the huge loads. And he showed he could do it without sacrificing efficiency. And then Stotts, when he comes along, proves that you could build an amazing 3-point heavy offense that's efficient, that can get it done against any type of defense around that skill set. So they took everybody by surprise, including myself. I thought it was going to be a choppier retooling effort. And I do wonder if, had that season not gone as smoothly as it did, and maybe they have a little bit more pain up front, we would have gotten a little bit more of a push later on to be willing to take the next step, right? Because you're like, well, we know Dame and CJ can deliver X number of wins and a top 5 offense every single year. So did they just fall back on that, especially Neil Olshey? Did he just say, hey, this is kind of good enough, we can get by with this, rather than saying, okay, well, what's really going to optimize the team and, put them in a position where they can actually make deep playoff runs? And, it's, again, one of these hypotheticals we're never going to know, but I wish I could kind of run it back, and rather than get comfortable with that early success, use that early success as a springboard to push even harder, right?
You mentioned, like, from day one, Dame just came in and off the jump, he was impressive. And we're seeing, you talked about how Steph, it took him like 3 years, whether it was health or finding that rhythm, but Steph ended up growing into that guy who, there's a lot of guys in the NBA that can get buckets, right?
Yep.
But to become a creator and facilitate for everybody else around them, that's when your point guard becomes special. As we kind of look at, Dame was almost that from the get-go, and he had refined the facilitator role a little bit more as his career went on. But how many guys are there like that in the NBA that have that create for everybody kind of game and stylistically that can do it? Because you see it's pretty few and far between where you can combine and meld both of those together.
Yeah, no, I mean, the guys who I think are the best playmakers for their teammates right now tend to be actually bigger players who are just kind of like, a center trapped in a point guard's body like Jokic, or a big wing trapped in a point guard's body like a Luka or a LeBron. I think the one aspect that Steph had that Dame never got was Draymond, because I think the perfect pairing for Steph was a super versatile defender who could also play in pick and rolls and be a facilitator and could also be an amazing passer to kind of take some of that burden off Steph. You see it even now. When Steph has to be on the ball, he turns the ball over a lot. And he's pretty weak with the ball in some situations. And you're just like, man, what are these passes? Even in the NBA Finals, he's throwing behind the back passes for turnovers and like costing his team a title. And you're like, what is going on here? And, Lillard had, a good partner in Aldridge, a really good partner in CJ McCollum, but he never had that perfect balancing player who could kind of cover up for maybe some of his weaknesses and make his strengths even stronger. And, Dame, like the shot quality that he got in Portland, people are going to trap him. He's going to have to take these shots from 30 feet. With Steph, he had a lot more space to operate thanks to Draymond. And then, of course, he's an amazing shooter, so he can pull from anywhere. It's not a huge problem there. But, that's another regret, too, is they never kind of found the right successor to Aldridge or, Dame's version of Draymond to pull the best out of him.
I think that New Orleans series, when you said trap him, that New Orleans series, like when we look at the benchmarks in his career, that is where his career took off to another level. Like, because
he'll say that too.
It was ugly. Yeah. That series was bad on every front, not just him either. But you mentioned the pairings around him. He's got Giannis now. Pretty good. That's a pretty good guy.
Well, that's his Draymond. You know what I mean? A lot of the stuff that I was saying about Draymond does, Giannis does, and more, right?
Yeah.
Who would you like when you look at young Scoot, where his game is at now? What do you think the pairing would be that amplifies his game a little bit more?
The first thing I want to see for Scoot before you can start dreaming about Hall of Fame big men partners, I just want to see great spacing around Scoot, because the type of his game, shooters, 100%. The type of his game that you want to see is him to be able to take his man off the dribble, get to the rim, and have as few contested shots as possible. I think a lot of the problem, and people are focusing on his, poor finishing numbers so far this season, but it's much harder to finish in traffic than it is to finish in a spaced out court. Another guy who's a different body type dealing with the exact same problem is Cade Cunningham with the Detroit Pistons. I mean, this guy plays in a box every single night, right? And so, I like Kamara. I like Tybal. I tend to like those type of defensive stopper type players more than the average person. But if you're just going to surround Scoot with those type of guys, you're going to have finishing problems. You're going to have inefficiency. You're going to have him settling for tough shots more than you would want. So I would actually start like the building program around Scoot with getting some wing shooters. That's where I would start it. And, Ayton can set picks and roll and give you some offense that way. I would like to see him and Scoot more involved in pick and rolls as well. But that would be my first step if I was trying to build the right roster around him.
I mean, we could sit here and talk with you all day. Do you have anything going on? Can you stick around for one more?
Well, there's a game tonight.
Okay, so we got you till 7. We got you till 7.
Yeah. No, let's talk. Let's do it.
All right. Ben Golliver, Beaverton High School, and the Washington Post as well. Check out his book. If you haven't, I highly recommend Bubble Ball. He was down in the bubble, and great storytelling from what it was like that COVID year down in Disney World. Oh, my goodness. Ben Golliver continues with us. This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
Prescription
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty here on this Wednesday. We are joined in studio by Beaverton's own Ben Golliver. We were talking about before you came out at the beginning of the show. You are the most well-adjusted of the 4 people that currently have microphones in front of their faces right now. So congratulations on that. I don't know if
that
that's
sounds like faint praise.
I don't think that's a high bar to go, but
it's a golf club.
Yeah. Of the guys that are local and the 3 Beaverton High alums that we have here, the most well-adjusted. Yeah. So he joins us in studio.
You're the only one with the blue text on the Wikipedia page for Beaverton High School alumni.
Okay, I'll take that too.
Look at that. We're talking Blazers with Ben because it's a big day in Rip City as Damian Lillard returns for the first time in another uniform. What about this start in Milwaukee? As we've talked about Dame and kind of the steps of his progress. We've talked about the Blazers, but Milwaukee firing Adrian Griffin midway through the season. What a journey that has been here with Dame was like, he had Stotts. It was his guy. Yeah. He goes to Milwaukee. Stotts is there for a week. And now he's just like,
screw it, I'm out.
He has all the stability in the roster around him, but no coach. Now the coach instability. What have you made of this first half plus of the Bucks season?
So I got to see the Bucks at the in-season tournament semifinal game they played against Indiana, and my jaw was kind of basically on the floor. You guys coach youth sports? Do either one of you?
Yeah, I do.
So you can relate to this. So during that game, they're going against the Pacers. Pacers, amazing offense, right? So Adrian Griffin decides he wants to put out a 2-3 zone. I've never seen this before in my life from a professional NBA coach. He holds up 2 fingers on one hand and 3 fingers on the other. That's how he signals for his 2-3 zone. He's like he's coaching third graders. I'm looking around saying, what is this guy doing? Is this really happening in front of my eyes? And he keeps doing it over and over and over again. It's like, man, at least come up with some sort of a nickname for it or like a hand signal. So that's what we were working with in Milwaukee. I think that when you start to hear the conversations about the players and Adrian Griffin and maybe he lost the locker room, I think some of it came down to just, base level strategy stuff, especially on defense, where they're going from Mike Budenholzer, who is like the most rigid, formulaic, here's exactly how we're going to play. Here's the shots that we allow. Here's
we're playing
the shots
drop
that we
no
don't.
matter what.
No matter what. And you can't shoot corner threes against them, but you could take as many above the break threes as you want all day long. Those are the shots that they give up. And, Griffin comes in with this different defensive philosophy where he wants everybody running all over the court. The old guys are like, we're not going to run. Why are we doing that? And then he's holding up 2 and 3 fingers and like, oh yeah, we're going to a 2-3. So it's like, come on, man. Like, what's the base level of that we're looking for? So that was an interesting first impression for me with them. And then that very night, there's reports, locker room's pissed off. Bobby Portis is going at coach. And it's like, well, yeah, I probably would have too after that performance because they got killed by Indiana and they looked like they were in a pretty tough spot. So wasn't totally surprised that he got fired, but usually coaches are better at self-preservation than he was. Like usually they make the adjustments that are going to keep the players happy enough to keep the heat off, especially when they're winning. And the fact that he couldn't do that just tells you it was a bad hire from the start.
Yeah.
Now with Doc, lots of questions there too. It was interesting to see how hard they played against the Nuggets the other night. I don't know if you guys saw that game. They came out and they were up early playing super hard. But the most fascinating part about Milwaukee for me is how that game closed because Denver destroyed them on both sides of the basketball. I mean, they're getting wide open dunks. Jamal Murray's taking Damian Lillard, walking him straight into the paint and taking a jumper over the top of him on a very key possession. On the other end, Denver's getting big stops, and Milwaukee's clutch offense, thanks to Dame, has been much better this year. But when they really needed to execute in the crucial minutes of that game, they weren't doing it. So they still have to figure some things out if they want to get back onto this championship level. But I think that's why the pressure is now on Doc to do that, to kind of make those types of adjustments. Sometimes in the past, he's been okay at that. Sometimes that's been a shortcoming for him. So that's an open question. And I think also for Damian to go from being the man in Portland, where he basically gets the blame the least of anybody in the organization, to going to Milwaukee, where all the blame was on Adrian Griffin. Well, we don't have Adrian Griffin to blame anymore. He's out. Like Doc, he can take some of it, but there's going to be more scrutiny on Lillard, the player, I think, for these next 3 to 4 months than there's ever been before in his career. He's going to have to step up and play, better, more physical defense in big moments. And then he's going to have to get back to shooting the ball like we all know he can, right? It's just been a little bit of a down year for him. He picked it up a little bit recently, but they need the I can go for 40 any night Lillard to come in more often, I think.
When you look at where this organization, the Trailblazers, have been, in relationship to their stars. Every single one of them has ended unceremoniously and in a manner that I don't think anybody in the organization would want, whether it's Bill Walton and a complete dissociation from the franchise for literal decades, and then Clyde and his trade demand, and Brandon, even in that short time period, how great he was. There was real animosity between him and Paul Allen because of the handshake agreement that was violated when he medically unretired and went to the Timberwolves. And then LaMarcus leaves, and then Dame's trade request. Even through all of those, do you think there's a difference between how each of those went and how they ultimately were resolved, and how Damian Lillard is going to be looked at tonight, even though it's clearly the freshest?
Well, I think one common theme from some of those names that you mentioned is that injuries changed the story for a lot of those guys. And we're seeing it right now with Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers. When you deal with recurring injuries or players who can't stay healthy or can't play 100% to their peak, there is always going to be disappointment. Disappointment breeds hard feelings, and it goes both ways, whether it's on the player side or the organization side. So I don't know if you can ever, even if you handled the situation perfectly, ever get out of the Brandon Roy era with everybody feeling good, or ever get out of that Bill Walton era with everybody feeling good. I think it's just kind of impossible. What I think this Lillard situation might be different from some of the other ones is this feels pretty amicable by NBA divorce standards, right? There's nobody shooting, bullets into his jersey like we saw with Kevin Durant, right? There's nobody like burning stuff outside, in Cleveland, calling LeBron a traitor. There's none of that.
There's
right?
no Comic Sans.
Yeah.
This feels very amicable on both sides. Lillard said yesterday he's come back with love. I think I heard that quote, right? The Blazers fans, I think I'm preparing for people to be crying tonight, right? I mean, it's definitely possible. So that even feels different from Drexler's return or from some of these other players' return. And I think it speaks to, I think it really speaks to fans more than anything else, because part of the reason why there's been harsh feelings throughout all these decades is because the fans embrace these guys and bring them in the ways that not every fan base does. It's not just a player. This is a family member. It's kind of how people look at it. And when families have hard times, it gets personal and people take it the wrong way. But, to me, like, it did get a little bit ugly last summer. Like Dame doesn't put Joe Cronin in his goodbye letter. Joe Cronin supposedly, he's not contacting you. These guys aren't talking to each other at the practice facility and all of that. Who knows whether that particular relationship's ever going to get back to where it was prior to all of this. But doesn't that feel like water under the bridge? Like, aren't people over that? Aren't you just ready to go, celebrate this guy tonight and cheer for him? And when he gets to, the letter O or whatever, people are going to go nuts. And that doesn't always happen. We've seen big stars not get as warm of a reception as Lillard's going to get tonight.
I think there is like this element, though, like Joe Cronin may not have been in the farewell letter, but I think Dame's maturity is a big part of it in his relationship with the city, separate from the organization, is a big part of this amicable split. But I think Cronin in the organization kind of doing right by him was a big part too. Yeah, he didn't get to Miami, but they put him in the best situation possible. I mean, what did
it's funny when the team trading you knows your best interest better than you do. We could all hope to be in that situation. But the other thing they did is I thought they took the high road. It did get a little bit ugly. There was opportunities for Joe to air stuff out if he really wanted to. I don't know how crazy it would have been, but being with the Blazers down at training camp in Santa Barbara for a day, and it's like asking those kinds of questions, like how do you guys feel about moving on? Is there any regrets? Would you have done anything differently? And they're just like, we're focused on these young guys. We're going forward. We have a new era. We're thankful to Dame. We're going to treat him right when he comes back to Portland. He's going to get his jersey up in the rafters. There was talk about a statue. There was going to be a statue. I would bet almost anything on that, right?
Oh no, they're doing one for Sean's, and they're going to do one for Dame.
Yeah. So there you go. What more can you do, right? It's like, okay, sure, maybe it gets a little bit tough when you're juggling phone calls from Miami and Milwaukee and whoever else you're talking to. That's just part of the business. It's more about how you mend those fences. And I don't think that the Blazers, you can criticize the Blazers for a lot this year in terms of roster building, construction, are these players underperforming? Was 8 in the right bed? I mean, you could dig these guys on a lot of different topics, but I don't think you could say they have handled the aftermath of that trade any better. Our
former president of basketball ops trained us to know roster construction is not the issue here. Ben,
right.
Okay.
That's right. It's the best and deepest roster you've ever had every year, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
When you look at the Damian Lillard era, what is, with Walton, it's the title. With Clyde, it's just how close they got.
Yeah.
With Brandon, LaMarcus Craig. It's what could have been. What's the singular thread that you kind of pull from Dame? Because I think it's, for me at least, a little bit of kind of all of those things. Yeah. But where do you kind of end up with it with what was the decade of Lillard?
So for me, I'm a big Michigan football fan, and so I'm just coming off of this Rose Bowl, which was like the single greatest day of my life. Unbelievable. You know how people say like, "Oh, the birth of my kids," or like my marriage day was. No, forget that. Sorry to any of my family members that I offend. The Rose Bowl was the best day of my life. So my point is, that last play where Alabama Milroe running into the line, Michigan gets to stand. It's 4th and 3. They win the Rose Bowl. They knock down. They send Saban into retirement. All of that. That is just like one of those moments. Honestly, I'll remember that more than when they go the next week to Houston and win the national championship, because that moment was so special. Obviously it was great that they won it. Winning the championship helped validate that moment, but you get my point. Sometimes those special moments stick with you. And I think anybody who was at the Rockets buzzer beater or at the Thunder buzzer beater, that moment might not be a championship, but tell me that, there's been champions who won the title and never had a moment as cool as that along the way, right? And especially the OKC one with just the perfect wave, the amazing pictures, the memes that have lasted for years. I go back and watch that Rose Bowl overtime like once, honestly every day, pretty much. Like it's pretty pathetic. You said I was well adjusted earlier. I don't know where that came from.
No,
but
the bar is that low.
Right.
I mean, you just cleared it. Like that is the most well-adjusted thing that we've heard all day.
Right. And so for you guys though, you could probably go back and watch that Dame shot, either one of those Dame shots. How many times do you think you've watched 1,000? 2,000? I mean, you really add it up. It's a lot. And so I guess my point is, not every team has an equal opportunity in the NBA to win a championship, to hoist the trophy. But that shot against OKC was almost more rare than a title in some ways. And so that's really what sticks with me, is like he gave people a moment. That moment will live and live and live and live and live for decades. Anybody who watched it, even on TV, but also in person, will remember exactly where they were, what the weather was like that day, what they had for lunch. And that's how I feel about that Rose Bowl too. And that's the takeaway. That's why we follow sports. That's why people care. That's why people live through rebuilds. It's because you're waiting for that payoff. And that was just about the sweetest payoff ever for a Blazers fan. Other than that 77 championship parade, which I still hear from the old guys about. I mean, that, it's arguably number 2 on the list, right?
Red beans and rice and sending that mother bleeper home. All right, that's what he told Chris Haynes.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. That was a nice little build up to that one.
Man. Well, hey, we appreciate you sticking around with us for so long. Welcome back. Welcome home. It's not too much rain that we have going on.
No, it's perfect, though. That's the other thing with the Rose Bowl. It's like beautiful blue skies. The skies parted for that game. Tonight, for Lillard's return, had to be gloomy, a little bit of rain, making sure you don't screw your shoes up on the way to the arena. Like, that is the right feel for this night tonight, isn't it?
Perfectly really dodging puddles.
Wait, does this mean are you a Chargers fan now?
No, I don't think there are Chargers fans. So maybe there will be now. I've never met one in the wild. Have you?
Not a real one.
Yeah. Not since the move, I mean, because they obviously had a fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of just Oregon fans that have with Justin Herbert attached. So you're just kind of watch him in Harbaugh at a distance.
Well, yeah, I don't count that as a Chargers fan. That's a Herbert fan. I'm a Harbaugh fan, obviously indebted to him. We're talking about statues. Let's get him a statue in Ann Arbor. But no, I don't think I'm going to be hopping on the Chargers bandwagon, although plenty of good seats still available, I think. No, it's tricky, though, in L.A., man. You got so many teams. You got Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, you got LeBron. Even the Clippers, I think, are probably at this point above the Chargers on the pecking order. So that's why you go out there and make a splash hire like Harbaugh, because you're trying to get relevant in a way you just haven't been.
What is the feeling about the Clippers in their new arena? That's Inglewood. It's going to be massive. It's going to be beautiful.
Side of the old Forum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I toured it. I mean, it's coming along. It's incredible how fast they built it. Like, if you have an unlimited budget, you can do so many cool things. And Ballmer's like, yeah, this sounds great. Let's put this into practice. The technology is going to be crazy. You're going to walk into the little store to get your food, grab and go. You're not going to have to pay. You're just going to walk out, and it's going to somehow know who you are. I think with your credit card, whatever, you don't have to swipe it. It's just going to automatically charge you. You get back to your seat. He's obsessed with the number of toilets he's got in the arena, so there's not going to be any lines for bathrooms whatsoever. You're going going to be in and out, charging stations at every seat, you know?
What?
So, and apparently they're going to be tracking people. If you agree to sign up, they could track how loud you're cheering and for how long you're cheering. And if you meet his standard, they're going to give you discounts at the team shop so you can go buy a jersey or go buy a t-shirt. Like, this guy's trying to do whatever he can to really create a home court advantage for the Clippers because they've never had it. I mean, you go to Clippers games, sometimes, you know, Clippers and Blazers, there'd be more people cheering for the Blazers,
right?
Especially in Dame's heyday than there are for the Clippers. So that really bothers him. He's trying to completely change the narrative around the team. It's a big bet, man. It's a $2 billion plus bet that he's going to be able to kind of craft this fan base in the image that he wants, and we'll see if he can do it.
But I think, like, to the point of, like, no Chargers fans being down there, like, just sharing staples, that's where the Lakers play.
Right.
It's where the Lakers play, and then on off nights, the Clippers are there too. It'd be like, you know, a G League team sharing an arena.
Totally.
And
And they play at 12:30 all the time, like on weekends. So, like, James Harden's first home game for the Clippers, like, they're so excited. We got James Harden, you know, all these SoCal players on the same team. And his first game was 12:30 against the Memphis Grizzlies with no Ja. So you get there, it's half full, and like nobody's excited. And like if I'm Harden, I'm looking around like, what's going on? And they've played so well actually over these last 2 months that they've started to build up some momentum, and the fans are back in the building. But having their own place is going to be huge for them.
What team are you buying in the NBA that maybe is on the periphery right now? Because I mean, I think the Clippers are one of those teams that they're built to be they're going to be really
if they're healthy, they're there.
They absolutely are. What teams are you buying right now?
Well, if I'm looking at it like a stock market, I'm buying OKC because I think they're blue chip. I love all of their main players, Shea, Jalen Williams, but especially Chet. I think those guys are incredible. Here's a take for you. 2029, I think Chet has a chance to be the best American player, period. Full stop.
Ooh.
And you look at the young
Getting in
guys
front of the
right
Cooper
now.
Flag run, huh?
I'm counting on Cooper not quite being at his peak at that point, but I also think that people just massively sleep on how good Chet is and how much he's improved already.
Yes. In an off year.
Yeah, he had a whole year off with the foot injury. When's the last time you saw somebody come back this well from a foot injury? What can you do on a foot injury, you know? So he clearly worked on his shot, but just his shot blocking ability, timing's incredible. He's perfect fit for the modern NBA, so competitive. And so I think that, you know, if you're looking at this as like a 5-year question, which team has the best chance to compete for titles consistently? I feel like OKC is almost where the Celtics were like 3-4 years ago, where like you just know they're going to be a problem every single year. Incredible culture. They've got all these draft picks to keep stock in the rotation. And they've got guys who buy into their local culture who don't want to leave. You know, Shea had an opportunity to be, you know, messy about it and try to ask out and all that. And he doubled down and tripled down on the Thunder. So that is the team that I've been most excited about this year. And, you know, we'll see how far they can go. You know, Western Conference Finals doesn't seem unrealistic. I don't know if they can make the finals, but coming into the season, I never would have even thought they could win a series, you know?
You brought up Chet, so I've got to ask you, which side of the fence are you on, Chet or Wemby this year?
Oh, Wemby. Oh, okay. For Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year.
Oh, for long term, I'm on Wemby's side.
Yeah.
I think for right now, my midseason award vote went to Chet because he had played about 25% more minutes, and all of his minutes are like impacting playoff standings, right? Whereas Wemby, I mean, at a point like not that long ago, they had the worst point differential as a team of any team since the Bobcats team that tanked for Anthony Davis. That's a long run of bad teams, right? And so the Spurs were just getting destroyed night after night. Now they've pulled themselves together a little bit, but Wemby's been on this minutes limit. What's interesting is the head-to-head matchup recently between Chet and Wemby. Wemby took it super personally. Like, he's talking trash down 30, you know, because he's trying to let Chet know, I'm winning this matchup even if your team's winning the game. And I think he understands to be able to win Rookie of the Year, he's got to have better numbers, and he's really got to make a strong push to close. And I think there's a really good chance he does it. But as of today, I would vote for Chet.
Dude, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure, guys. Anytime. Great to see you guys. Congratulations on the show and everything. I've heard it's been successful. Numbers are looking pretty good, right?
Yeah. Things are going well, man. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you coming in. Ben Golliver, Beaverton Zone, Washington Post. Go check out the book if you haven't yet, Bubble Ball, Inside the NBA's Fight to Save a Season. It's an incredible read, and it kind of takes you down memory lane because there's some good Blazers quips in there, too, with Lillard and in Portland.
Oh, that's another great memory. The shot. Remember the shot that bounced up, hung in the air for like 10 seconds and fell through in the bubble? Oh, man. What a good one.
Ben, thanks, man. And enjoy tonight at Moda Center. It's going to be a special night.
I can't wait. Wouldn't miss it.
All right. This is Danny Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Yes, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Gonna pay.
God,
so great.
Much like Jingles,
$1 Million Man.
there's a particular just je ne sais quoi
Yeah.
that has been lost in the art of the entrance song.
Yeah. You heard him. He was part of it. You're part of the song. Like it becomes who you are. I love it so much. That was awesome with Ben Golliver, Washington Post. A lot of really, great insight as to Dame, the Blazers, the NBA as a whole. It's going to be a special night when Ben is coming back up to Portland. It's not to see family. It is because that's the magnitude of the night. This is a big night across the NBA.
The
because
NBA,
Dame's returning.
the eyes will be on Portland tonight.
Yeah.
Whether or not the basketball being played is good, the eyes will be on Portland tonight. And I
don't think it's good for Portland when he said in that first game with Doc coaching in Denver, where it was
they played hard.
They played really hard out the gate. This Portland team, the worst thing that happens is when they get blitzed early, and it's like, uh-oh.
I think Portland knows. I think the Blazers players know what's coming their way, and I hope that they're ready.
A win,
competitive.
Oh.
Just let's have a clutch opportunity. Let's have a clutch opportunity, a game in the balance in the final 2 minutes. And then let the basketball gods decide where this goes.
No. Actually, I don't want that, because if Damian Lillard pulls up from the logo,
I was just going to say,
and he drains it, and I go, okay.
What point?
Okay.
That's the question. At what point in the game does Dame pull from longer than 25?
I hope right after Giannis wins the tip.
Just he's done it before. Where he's where he is literally, they have started a game. It was last year. They started a game. He walked across half court and the defense was a foot above the 3-point line. He took one step over and pulled.
Yeah. And then I know that it's a wish and it's not going to happen, but because of their relationship and the mentorship that he gave to Anthony Simons, I hope Anthony Simons is the one that's guarding him, and they just kind of do that wry smile back and forth to each other.
Little wink in the nod.
Yeah. I still got it, young buck.
It's gonna be
an emotional one. You're already crying.
I have known that this is going to build into this crescendo, and if it's like this for me, I can only imagine what it is for him. It's going to hit him like a tidal wave.
Yeah.
It's just going to come crashing down over him.
We had this text that came in that says, I was jumping around hugging random people when Dame hit the OKC shot. I think we all kind of have those moments, and I'll never forget. You don't forget where you are when those moments happen. I'll never forget the Houston shot. I was with a bunch of my college teammates. We have an alumni football golf tournament the first weekend of May every year, and we were all in my buddy's basement, and there was 30 of us. And when he hit that shot, we just dogpiled. That was just dudes being dudes, and it turned into an absolute just den of chaos. And that night, we were all on cloud nine. It was.
I remember
incredible.
The building shaking.
Yeah,
I remember the building shaking. It felt like an earthquake.
It's crazy.
The roar. I have been in that building for basically every big moment, but the OKC game winner, because I was at NBC calling the game there. And the only thing I can remember being as loud or near as loud was Brian Grant coming back out on the floor in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz after getting his eyebrow busted open. And it was, the roar was so loud in that building, in that series, and in that moment, that when he went up and grabbed that rebound, he swung his elbows at Karl Malone. I had to scream to my father next to me to say anything.
That was also Roy against the Mavericks.
Yes.
That was when he hit that three
in the corner.
That place,
it literally, good God, that gives me.
It went absolutely. But those there's you can only think of a handful of moments.
Three moments that come close to the Dame game winner, series winner, everything.
Yeah.
The fact that it was a series winner.
Yeah.
That's the thing that just that first series win in what was it, 8 years, 11 years, something along those lines. God, I can't remember now. I still remember, unless you've been somewhere that is so loud that the screams like shake your body.
Yeah.
You just don't really understand how loud that can be. That's what is so special about sports, is in the moments. And Ben talking about, winning that Rose Bowl and kind of, that seminal moment, the familiarity, the sincerity of the moment being driven so deep into your core that years later, you get something that's familiar and you're immediately transported back to that. That's the specialness of it all. And that's the specialness of Damian Lillard. So,
well, he's coming back tonight, and it's going to be it'll be one of those games where I don't know how many times this year the pregame show, the game, and postgame show,
everything is going to be
it's must see TV. Tonight we have that night.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the Blazers on the broadcast are going to show the tribute video.
They should.
I would imagine that's going to be a part of this.
They should.
So everybody gets a chance to see it.
And then we can go back to business as usual.
Yeah, and that is part of this is like, as much as it's a big deal, it's also about getting through it as the Blazers, because they've got business to take care of coming up too. So,
buddy, this was a date that's been circled for a long time.
Ever since that trade was made. So we're going to pivot away from basketball for a little bit. We have our worst day on the web coming up here, but first here's Jeff Russ, the big Kahuna, Jeff Kahuna. There you go with a Sports Center update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Trailblazers wrap up their homestand as Damian Lillard returns for the first time in a Bucks uniform. Shaedon Sharpe still out for Portland. They are 10.5-point underdogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. 7 o'clock tip on ESPN and Root Sports. The Blazers 14-33 on the season. That's the 5th worst record in the league. The association announced today they are expanding the draft into a 2-night event beginning this year, June 26th and 27th. Round 1 will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, with round 2 at ESPN Seaport District Studios in Manhattan. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Seahawks hiring Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their new head coach. The now youngest head coach in the league is getting a 6-year deal. The Ravens were number 1 in points allowed, sacks, and takeaways in 2023. And multiple reports say John Angelos has agreed to sell the Baltimore Orioles to a group led by Carlyle Group Inc. co-founder and Baltimore native David Rubenstein for $1.725 billion. Cal Ripken Jr. also a part of the purchasing party. The sale must be approved by 75% of owners, who are scheduled to meet next week in Orlando. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rush at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The playoffs, the big game. Watch and wager on all the action at Spirit Mountain Casino. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN. It's time for today's worst day on the web with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Are you a
whose wrestling theme is this?
What was it? Was it Doink the Clown?
Doink! I miss Doink.
That was a deep pull.
Yeah.
You know what? Congratulations.
I'm proud of myself.
That was really good because
that deserves a Barry Horowitz.
Yeah.
You started to go down a road, and I'm like, I don't know where he's, and then you landed that thing.
That was good. Doink the Clown.
Not too bad.
Let Rust cook.
Not too bad. I know we all will occasionally tune ourselves into some Jeopardy every now and then. You see it on, and you see the categories, like, I'm going to do well here.
Yeah.
How often do you turn into the old Wheel of Fortune these days?
Wheel of Fortune is on my back burner. It's on my back burner. I'm not a huge Wheel of Fortune guy, but I do enjoy the clips. I'll tune in more Jeopardy than I will Wheel of Fortune. Like it's
my wheelhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Know. Well, you claim that you could win on Jeopardy.
Depending on the category days, yeah. I'm a trivia guy.
Okay.
I am.
We're going to have to do, let's see here. Stump Danny. Dump Danny. I'm trying to think of words.
Stump the chump.
The alliteration.
Make Danny feel like a dum-dum.
Yeah.
Sure. We're going to have to put a trivia game together then. Jeopardy style.
Stump the chump works.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. I would like that. I think that'd be a fun bit. We could do that.
Just drop it on me randomly.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. I'll just compile a list of questions that I will solicit from the folks.
There we go.
Yeah. We're in on this. Let's do this.
There's certain things I will hit absolute home runs on, categories, world history, geography. It's the ones that get me, like the poet laureates, like those kind of things. I'm like, I know.
I don't read no good.
Well, I know a fair amount of them, but I can't tie them together. And so I'm like, I think it's that one. So those ones will get me. But
Mystify Meringue.
Ooh.
What if we do that?
Oh, well, it's not bad.
I just looked up synonyms for stump.
I like it.
Mystify Meringue. I like that.
That's got a little intrigue to it.
Yeah, there we go.
You know, it's got some intrigue to it.
Huh.
Apparently, there's like actual judges.
Yes.
On Wheel of Fortune, when you go to precisely say what's on the board, and they can come back and bite you in the butt if they don't think you got it right.
Living thing is the category. You have 10 seconds to try to tell us what's up there. Good luck.
Something orchid. Pony orchid.
You might have been overthinking, thinking of a type of orchid.
Pink.
Yeah. I'm sorry that didn't work out for you, and I have to look in here, but I can't open it, so, there you go. I know, that would have been awfully nice.
Wait, that was the first thing that she said was pink orchid.
I think she might have dropped the K in pink.
Pink orchid?
Ping orchid? Is that what she thinks she said? Okay.
Can we get it one more time?
Living thing is the category. You have 10 seconds.
Listen to her first one.
Try to tell us what's up there. Good luck.
Something orchid.
I think she said ping.
It almost sounded like ping.
Ping orchid. But maybe pink.
It was close.
So I know a guy, one of the guys I went to high school with. Hey, maybe he should be on the Most Famous Glencoe alums. Paul Atkinson. He was on Wheel of Fortune, and he had one of these same things happen. It was corner curio cabinet, right? But he solved the puzzle. He mispronounced curio, and they said no. He got it right. Like, he solved the puzzle. He just mispronounced.
Curio?
I think it's corner curio cabinet, and I think he said curio instead of curio. And they were like, nope, wrong. They are sticklers at Wheel of Fortune.
Wow.
But that was really close. Like, how are you listening that closely to it? Because that sounded like pink orchid. to me.
Before something orchid. Yeah. The thing that makes this brutal is, in Wheel of Fortune, you pick the card in the final round, and then you find out what you did win or didn't win, and it was $40,000.
Yeah. I think when you have that amount of money.
Because she was at $14,000, which, spinning the wheel, $14,000 is those are some good spins.
Yeah, that's great spins.
You didn't hit the bankrupt before then?
Yeah.
Like, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You leave them with $14K. Now you would have left with 55. Well, I mean, after California taxes and everything else, you probably left with $14K if you would have won the 40.
Probably. But hey, that's
$14,000
more than you had before. There you go.
What we're learning here is Wheel of Fortune doesn't mess around.
No, you have to have your pronunciations correct. And you have to really enunciate if you're in between ping and pink orchid. I think I would have given it to her, but that's why I'm not a Wheel of Fortune judge, apparently. Ooh.
How do you go about becoming a Wheel of Fortune judge?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the game show world is interesting. The game, because I think you just like get in as a grunt, and then you're working your way up to be the game show judge. That's a pretty distinguished job,
right?
I wonder how much that pays.
I bet you it doesn't pay.
It's like
anything.
a producer. You're a producer.
No, you don't get paid anything, but you get the prestige of being the judge.
So you have to work 3 jobs.
It's like the Illuminati, but you're the final say on whether or not.
Yeah, I'm a barista at Starbucks during the day, but at night.
Oh no!
I'm a Wheel of Fortune.
I bet you the Wheel of Fortune judge is like a professor emeritus at Harvard. It has like some endowment of like $2 million a year.
Oh, okay.
This is they are very successful in life, and they go to their parties, and this is the thing they get to lord over them. It's like, I am the judge.
This is why I like Price is Right more than Wheel of Fortune. You know what I think they should do with Price is Right?
What's that?
They should have Billionaire Day on Price is Right because it's all prices.
They have no idea what
it's all
costs?
Prices on everyday items, and so you have a billionaire who has no idea what anything.
How
costs.
much can a banana cost? $57,000?
Yeah, give me Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, Elon Musk. Yeah, have them, Mark Cuban, have them all up there and make them play the Price is Right, and just see how spectacularly they will fail. And then you just have average Joes in the crowd. Heckling them. It would be fantastic. It would make for great theater.
When was the last time any of those guys you think ever used cash?
I don't know. Jerry Jones is on my TV right now. Put Jerry Jones on the Price is Right. I'm going to watch that. I will watch that 10 times out of 10.
What's older, a kindergartner or his hairpiece?
That's an old hairpiece. I'm gonna go the hairpiece.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a good one because it's still thinning around.
It's bad. It's bad. I had to call that.
Ooh, hey, we got 2 different. We have 2 different recommendations. Prove Danny Morong.
Ooh.
And Prove Me Morong. I think those are both.
Those
good.
are both pretty good.
Prove Me Morong.
Yeah.
Prove Danny Morong. Yeah. I think that's where we might. Mystify Meringue, Prove Danny Morong. I think Prove Danny Morong.
There's some workshopping.
We're gonna have to do this.
Yeah, no, this is 100% working. Well, speaking of money, you know what? Yesterday we talked about the worst people in sports.
Yeah.
And we had John J. Fisher's name, the owner of the Oakland Athletics, name pop up. And there's another owner in this group that we have criticized long and hard. And you know what? Maybe he's doing the right thing. We'll get to that and more coming up on Danny and Dusty today, The Fan. Here on Wrestling Wednesday, we gotta let these all marinate.
Jake the Snake.
God, this one just screams any like montage scene from a movie from 1983 to 1986.
Yeah, there's a fight scene coming.
100%.
There's a fight scene coming, and it's Jake the Snake. God, that snake gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Are you
still.
anti-snake?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
Get legs.
How do they move?
I mean,
that sounds like
pretty simple.
That sounds like a full-on Rodney Dangerfield thing. They don't even have any legs. What's going on?
I tell you.
They don't. They don't. They're creepy.
All right.
And they're just, they're scaly and gross.
I was going to say something about a snake and ownership and all those kind of things, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
We have lambasted ownership that has taken wildly incredible players across all of sports. Artie Moreno in Anaheim with the Angels. Basically everything that the Cincinnati Reds have done for the last 20 years. John J. Fisher since 1999. The Fisher family with the Oakland A's. The Bidwells in the NFL. The list is long and not illustrious. One of those owners, or family ownerships, I should say, is the Angelos family in Baltimore, who have been gifted one of the best players in baseball through the draft in Sherwood local legend, Adley Rutschman, and has helped spur that organization into the upper echelon of Major League Baseball, along with another young sensation in Gunnar Henderson.
Well, and then Jackson Holiday, too, that they just drafted. They are loaded with talent. And those three guys are like where they're kind of hanging their future on. They're loaded with talent across the board, though.
Through the entire pipeline.
It is the Baltimore Orioles are going to be really damn good. And when you build a team and you take the shortcut through hell and you say, we're going to go and just suck for a few years, but we're going to build through the draft and we're going to bolster our farm system and we're going to sell off a lot of the pieces to get pieces in return that are going to pay off in 4 or 5 years. There comes a time where if you develop that talent and you start winning, you're going to have to pay that talent.
And then you got to cash in to really win, which is what your cheating Astros have done.
Well, that was their whole plan. And they have actually hired out of the front office of Houston to go and build this.
Yes.
But you have to be willing as an owner to win, and you have to just save up that money and start hoarding that money. I don't know what the Angelos family's been doing with the money that the Baltimore Orioles have been getting from Major League Baseball, but they have not been saving it because we just absolutely crushed them this past season when their ownership and John Angelos said, hey, well, if we're going to pay all these guys, it's going to have to come from somewhere, so concession prices and ticket prices are going to have to go up, which is absolute BS in the highest regard. It's, no, you're the billionaires. You spend the money.
This is where it comes from.
If you don't have the money, do right by the fans and get rid of the damn team. And
bullying worked.
Every single team that ponies up the money when they go down this route, they win.
Well, not only that, they end up sick. They not only win not on the field, but off the field. There's never been a team, even though the Dodgers didn't win a title this year, they still made hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Even though they had the biggest payroll in the sport by absolute leaps and bounds among everyone else.
I mean, they may be different because they're the Dodgers in LA.
But when you're at the top and you spend the money, you will recoup it.
But
and
it
is a direct correlation and has been. And the fact that they have pretended and they have tried to sell that isn't the case is one of the biggest farces in sports.
That is, you have to win before you raise those prices, because if you have a winner, people are going to be willing to pay the prices. They're not going to pay the prices first and then say, hey, we promise we're going to win. And then all of a sudden in July, they're like, we're going to sell everything off.
Because that's what happens. And that's what the A's have done for 20 years.
And so the Angelos family is selling, and gosh, we feel so bad for them. They've been bullied into selling the team because they weren't going to commit to spending money on that roster, but I applaud them for having the foresight of just going, all right, fine, we'll cash out now then. They bought the team for $172 million. They're selling it for $1.725 billion.
Otherwise known as 1,000% increase.
they're making over $1.5 billion.
And they're doing it in 30 years. There's no investment on this planet outside of this industry that will get you that kind of investment.
Now, they are selling to a group led by it's Carlyle Group, so David Rubenstein, and they're going about it the right way, because one way to win over the fan base is to go ahead and bring in some of the people that have been great toward the franchise. Cal Ripken Jr. is going to be part of this ownership group, right? And now, will he have any say? Oh, no, probably not. But you're already getting in the good graces of the fan base by bringing in Cal Ripken Jr. and just saying, hey, he's a part of it. He's part of this show. I love it for the fans of the Baltimore Orioles. I love it even more for Adley Rutschman. That is a guy that has done everything right throughout his career, and he is a damn star in the league. And he's going to be a guy that is going to be loyal to Baltimore just by who he is and who his family is. Now he's got an ownership group that is who's going to be just as loyal as he is.
And this is not like although they have a little bit more money than the Angelos family, this is a group that has over $300 billion worth of assets.
I would say that that's a lot of money.
They have an operating income in the 40s of billions of dollars. So this is like when you want to have that measuring contest, they stand up on the table and they stand apart.
Yeah. And for the people of Baltimore, it's even better because prior to all of this, they renegotiated a long-term lease. They got 15-year lease at Camden Yards again. There's no fear that they would up and move the team. But anytime you get new ownership, that is a concern. That's always a worry, right?
It's always lorded over the top of them, and you're sitting
But they don't have that. They don't have that.
I don't know.
I absolutely love that this happened, and I hope this puts the screws to John J. Fisher in the A's, even though I have no faith that that's going to happen, because
Major League Baseball should look around and see it as a success and be like, yeah, we need more of this and less of the Fishers of the world.
What they did at that Vegas unveiling and hype, I don't know, the press conference or whatever. Did you hear the mayor of Las Vegas?
Mm-mm.
I think it was the mayor. She's like, give it up for John J. Fisher and the ownership group of the A's. And not a single person clapped. It got so awkward to the point where she's like, are you guys alive back there?
Is this thing on?
That's what we're working with. Please
clap.
Yeah.
The Fishers brought the A's to Vegas, and people are still like, nope.
We don't want you here either. We don't like your kind here.
Not you, John J. Fisher.
So, yeah, hopefully Major League Baseball gets smart about this.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine that this sale was also probably encouraged by Major League Baseball because, again, you want your broke boy owners gone.
You do.
You want the obscene money.
Yeah.
Because that's where this is headed. And if you've got somebody who's not willing to not even willing, but able to ante up the table, like you can't even afford the small blind.
Yeah.
Like you got to go.
And at the way that they're going to do it is just by gouging the fans. And Major League Baseball doesn't mind that. We know that.
Yeah, we've seen that before. But the flip side of this is you look down at Atlanta and what they have turned around and done.
That's awesome.
And on not only you think about that in Atlanta, it's not just in Major League Baseball; it's also the NFL.
Yeah.
Both ownership groups on both sides, with the Braves and the Falcons, have both done the right thing.
Yeah.
As far as it pertains to the fan and the fan experience.
And this from Mariners fan says, I'm just so jealous as a Mariner fan. Stanton is a cheap and terrible owner. Why can't we have an ownership group that includes Junior and just wants to win? Yeah. Or not tell you we want to do everything to win and then a year later
sell off everyone?
Yeah. Say, oh, no, not now. Maybe next year.
Yeesh. Well, speaking of Seattle, Seattle has made their move and they have their man going forward. They have hired their head coach to carry them on into the next era after Pete Carroll. What does the hire of Mike McDonald mean for the Seattle Seahawks? We'll do that more here in hour number 3. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Wednesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. We love you. You can find us wherever you listen to the show across a multitude of platforms. Terrestrial radio, 1080 AM The Fan, as well as across streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, twitch.com/1080 AM The Fan, across the Vancouver Ford text line. Basically, there's a lot of ways to get involved and talk to us and with us. There's another way, though, Dusty. Coming up, 1080 The Fan invites you to play in the first Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin and X Golf Vancouver, Tuesday, February 27th. Sign your threesome up now. You can choose from either the 12 noon round or the 4 p.m. round at either X Golf location. If you choose the noon round out at Vancouver, you'll be out there with Dusty and I. If you choose the 4 o'clock round, you will be out there in Tualatin with Isaac and Suk at the Tualatin location. The winning threesome will win a free foursome at this summer's 10th annual Fan Golf Classic. The last place threesome will also receive a free lesson at X Golf for, not being good.
See, that's
win-win.
That's
or
a win-win.
Or win,
no, it's
lose-win?
Lose-win. And then a win-win if you win and then get into the Fan Golf Classic, because then you can bring in another stick because it's a foursome for the Fan Golf Classic.
And
the Winter Fan Golf Classic.
And you can probably,
just
tank some scores like we never have seen before. That never happens there.
There have been some
no
suspicious handicaps.
Indeed.
Some suspicious handicaps.
For all your information regarding all of our contests, go to 1080thefan.com for more info to sign up for your threesome now. That's gonna be a fun time. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. We're almost to February. Tomorrow is February. That seems like it's fast. It snuck up on us.
Yeah, well, I guess when I'm out for 3 weeks. I was going to say, January went by really fast.
I would say so.
Yeah,
I would say so.
God, that was quick, Dusty. That was a quick month. It's a quick month. Quick.
It's like I only worked like 7 days.
I didn't clear that threshold this month.
Dang, man.
Let's see.
No, it's you got to 7. You got 2, and then you got sick. Yeah. Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah, no, I made
You got 7 on the dot.
You're right. I got 7 on the dot. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Setting the bar low enough to trip over.
Yeah. Good God. That's Rob territory.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's catching strays now. Who's not catching strays any longer?
From you, he's catching strays.
I know, right? Of all people. The Seattle Seahawks. There was a lot of discussion, I think, over the last 24 hours. Yeah. Like, what are the Seahawks and the old commies in Washington going to do? There's some coaching trees. We talked about it yesterday, but was it such a bad thing? Because it wasn't that the coaches' pool had dried up, but perhaps that they were taking their time with the guy that they wanted to go with. And the Seattle Seahawks have since announced.
That's how they're going to frame it.
Well, that's the way they're going to frame it. But what's interesting here is that we thought maybe perhaps the reason they weren't going with some of the other coaches is because everybody that was left was essentially defensive.
Yep.
They go with the 36-year-old wonder kid study, and they get Mike McDonald. It's not old McDonald, it's young McDonald.
Young McDonald, man.
Young McDonald is going to have a farm out there in Seattle. And it's what do you
You need to apologize to the people for that.
I'm not going to. Not going to. I refuse. It'd be better if he was taking over at Stanford.
It would, down on the farm. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it absolutely
young McDonald down on the farm. But taking a look at the Seahawks hire here, we don't know what's going to flush out as far as the rest of the coordinators. What do you think of the initial hire and the direction that the Seahawks are taking?
The dude is a wizard on the defensive side of the football, and whether they wanted Ben Johnson or not, I think the team that ultimately is striking out in all of this is the Washington Commanders, because of the fact that they made it very clear that they didn't want Bill Belichick at the beginning. They apparently have not and will not interview Mike Vrabel for their head coaching job. They're just kind of out.
That seems kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it is very weird. Apparently, the Commanders, despite Dan Snyder being gone, just don't want to have nice things. Like a really good head coach who's a player's coach who is really good X's and O's wise on the defense side of the ball and squeezes the most out of his talent every single year and makes really good coordinator hires too.
Blood out of a stone would be the way I would put it.
I don't understand why they would not want Mike Vrabel unless somebody in the organization has an axe to grind, and
that happens.
But with Seattle, I think that they wanted to move on from Pete Carroll, but it wasn't to install this offensive identity. Like that wasn't it. They were just at odds because they had a 72-year-old head coach who wanted to hire new coaching staff around him and say, hey, we can patchwork this thing together and keep it going. They're like, no, I mean, if we're going to do that, we're going to start clean.
If we're going to make changes, we're going to make wholesale changes.
So you quite literally go from the oldest coach in the NFL to the youngest coach in the NFL.
Half his age.
And he is half his age. And when you do that, you're getting a guy who has been bright and regarded as one of the smartest football minds. And if you watch the way the Baltimore Ravens play defense, I mean, they got linebackers setting picks like for defensive linemen like they're playing basketball on O linemen just to create rushing lanes for their defensive linemen. Like they are really stinking good from scheme. And then it is not, when you have a scheme that is so complex like Mike Macdonald's is, it is the ability to coach it, teach it, and make it something that can
holistically
be retained by your players. He does a phenomenal job of that. This is a guy, his rise is very similar to Kenny Dillingham's, the Arizona State head coach. He was a high school football player. He was pretty good. He got hurt his senior year. He went to the University of Georgia, started coaching at his high school while he was at the University of Georgia, and then just kept kind of working his way up. And he went and coached at the high school after he graduated. Mark Richt brought him on staff. He then jumped, and he's been a Harbaugh guy. He's like a Harbaugh disciple. He's coached for both John and Jim Harbaugh at Michigan and Baltimore. He's a very bright guy. And for the questions of like, can he be a leader of men like Ben Johnson? That was a legitimate question that people were saying, I don't know that about Ben Johnson. That is not the question at all with Mike Macdonald.
Seems to be the case more often than not when you're talking about the defensive guys.
He is, by all accounts, the guy who is sharp as nails in this, like leading up to becoming a head coach. It's been his path. It's been his path since high school. Like, and he is, when you say he's,
which is again like Dillingham,
a super smart guy. Like he graduated from Georgia summa cum laude, right? Like he is book smart,
not just football smart.
Football smart.
He's smart.
So they're getting a guy who, between the ears, he's got it all. But when you hire a defensive head coach, you have to nail the offensive coordinator hires. And the thing that I find really interesting and should be reassuring for Seahawk fans is that he is coming from that Harbaugh tree, where even the people that have been colossal failures from the Harbaugh tree, Willie Taggart, they have made very good coordinator hires. Like they have, like there's something about whatever the sauce is that Jack Harbaugh handed down to Jim and John, where they knock it out of the park at every turn with their coordinator hires. And that is something that you should be like, all right, hey, hopefully that sauce has been learned up by Mike Macdonald, even though he's 36 years old, and it translates to the offensive side of the ball in Seattle. I don't know. Now you go, Brady Henderson told Sprague yesterday when he came on the show that don't be surprised if one of the guys who interviewed for the head coaching job ends up getting a coordinator job. And so you sit there and you look at that. There weren't a whole heck of a lot of offensive names, but that one guy that was getting a lot of steam, even for an interview, was Mike Kafka, the New York Giants offensive coordinator, which if anybody watched the Giants offense, it wasn't something you want to replicate.
No.
But is that going to be a name that maybe he jumps from a coordinator job and flips coast? I don't know where he goes, but that's going to be the main hire right there, is where do they go offensively? Because you need to get a guy who's going to maximize Geno Smith to the nth degree, because they found a way to do it with Dave Canales. Last year, the offense was not bad under Shane Waldron.
But it wasn't what it was 2 years
ago. You need to have somebody who can get through to
And that
Geno
was with
Smith.
the introduction of weapons and your offensive line coming together better. And there was some health stuff for sure.
Their offensive line was banged up this year. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But on the surface, there were three guys left, and I think if they had their druthers, they got their number one because Vrabel was available. Belichick was never going to be an option. But they went and they got – it was going to be a fight but for the Commanders for Mike Macdonald at this point because once Ben Johnson turned them down, you then kind of toss up your hands and you go, I don't know. The Commanders, they're the one that's in trouble right now. I don't know where they go with this job.
Which just kind of blows my mind that a guy like Vrabel is there. And I throw my hands up.
Or Bill Belichick. Like apparently there is – like
there's worse stopgaps.
Apparently, there's interest. Like the New York Giants are keeping tabs on Bill Belichick this year because if things go sideways with Daboll, like they'll go out and they'll hire Bill, even though he'll be even a year older next year and maybe out of the game for a full season. Like there's teams that are gauging the interest of Bill Belichick. But yet the Commanders are like, no, we're good without Vrabel. Yeah. We're good without Belichick. Whatever.
An organization that has lacked any semblance of stability, and you could go get either of those coaches that would give you that.
Yeah.
I throw my hands up. Speaking of stability, there appears that there might be some stability.
One thing about McDonald, too.
Ooh.
The Seahawks are giving him a long runway. 6-year deal.
6-year, yeah.
6-year deal, according to Tom Polacero of the NFL Network.
Fully guaranteed.
Yeah. All those coaches' deals are, baby. That's the best thing about being a coach.
That's pretty tasty.
But they're giving him a 6-year deal, so he's going to have a runway, and they're going to give him a big ramp to get this thing off the ground.
It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yep.
Well, speaking of long runways, we've long looked at the possible addition of Major League Baseball to Portland. Yesterday, news coming out that the Portland Diamond Project is set to make a sizable investment in the Portland metro area for what would be the largest multi-venue sports complex residency in the country. How much of it is real? What to expect of it? Where is it at? We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Dude, I want to hit somebody over the head with a 2x4 right now. Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
That was Dusty, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Dude, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Listen to this. You want to talk about music that did not fit the person at all? Like
I don't know. I think the era just
like
fit the music.
Southern rock seemed to be like, that would be Hacksaw Jim Duggan. But no, here we are. He's just rocking, dude.
I feel like it all kind of sounded the same.
Okay.
Which is kind of the
Yeah.
a lot of synthesizer.
Yeah, somebody who owned a synthesizer made a lot of money off of.
Oh no,
WWF.
that was the way to go.
Probably off of a little $59 Casio.
The investment paid out very quickly. Let me tell you.
Oh, man.
If you missed any part of today's show, reminder, you can get us wherever you get your podcasts across all of the podcast platforms. And they're brought to you by Service Patriots. Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all of your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan.
Hey, you should go listen to it if you missed our first hour.
Because we literally had a whole hour.
Yeah, we had Ben Golliver, Washington Post, in studio. He was awesome. I know that people in the YouTube comments were very upset because they couldn't see his beautiful head of hair. He has a great head of hair.
He does.
Like, I can't believe he didn't want to let his hair like grow for so long.
And the funny thing is, that is the same haircut that Ben had in high school.
Looks great.
It has not changed.
Looks great on him.
Not one bit.
But it was really good stuff on Dame, the Blazers, Scoot, Future, all of it. Really good stuff.
No, it was.
He's like a wind-up toy.
It's one of my favorite things about having Ben here on the podcast, whatever. You just give him a question, just whoop, he goes.
Yeah.
You don't have to pull stuff out of him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he signed my book too.
He did sign. You signed your bubble balls.
Yeah, you know what to do with that. Yeah, you know what to do with that. It's the name of his book, though, Bubble Ball.
Yeah.
And it is really good. It is. It's a really good book. It takes you behind the scenes to what that was like.
Yeah. And we talked to him off air about this. I don't think he'll mind me sharing this, but he was locked in isolation clearance to get into the bubble, and he almost lost it.
Oh yeah, he tweeted his way through it.
It was rough. I
can't imagine because they kept you in there for days.
He walked in a hotel room. He got 18,000 steps walking back and forth 8 feet.
That's crazy, man.
Like that's like you're reaching like Count of Monte Cristo, like Man in the Iron Mask type stuff.
They have to replace the carpet in that room afterward.
He was at Disney World, but that is like a day at Disney World. It's 18,000 steps
in a room, and it wasn't a big room. And for those who don't you can't not be able to tell on YouTube. Yeah. Ben's very tall.
He's a tall man.
He's like 6'5", 6'6". He's a tall dude.
Apparently, he couldn't even be seen.
That.
Yeah, really?
Had you not met Ben before?
I've never met Ben before.
Oh, yeah,
He's a tall guy.
And it's kind of funny because he slouches forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You see him kind of stand up and you're like, oh, no, you're a really
big
tall
dude.
Gentleman.
Yeah. Great guy.
Speaking of, absolutely, Ben is the best. Speaking of tall gentlemen who around sports, baseball. Like that professional segue?
No, I have no idea how that is. Randy Johnson.
There you go.
He played baseball. He was tall.
Gentleman. Yeah.
Richie Sexton, tall, played baseball.
Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr., both photographers.
John Candelaria, tall.
Tall.
Yeah.
We're just going to name tall dudes.
Ron Judge, tall.
Very tall. Very tall.
Jose Altuve, not tall.
Not tall.
Small.
Jorge Polanco. Current
small.
Mariner, not tall.
Small. Okay.
But speaking of baseball, the Portland Diamond Project has released a plan or a statement. In ongoing negotiations is that they are looking to purchase the 164-acre golf course across from Washington Square, otherwise known as Red Tail, previously Progress Downs, right smack dab in the middle of Beaverton Tigard on the 217 Hall Allen Shoals Ferry hellscape.
Boy.
For $50 million.
Yeah, this is great progress. And for everybody that said the Portland Diamond Project is dead and all that, they've been working behind the scenes. Like they truly have been. And that is not that's not a lie. This isn't some sort of grift. They were gaining serious momentum before COVID hit. And then, hell, Major League Baseball was there. They were en route to Portland the day after the World Series got over, and then there was a shooting at the protests in downtown Portland.
You had COVID, you had the homelessness.
It was that shooting. They were like, yeah, things may be a little too hot for us to be coming right now, right? Like that was the report that was out there, right?
Water on it, pretty heavy.
And then the pandemic, the length that it happened, and then baseball went from, hey, we're in a great spot in expansion and trying to get team stadiums. Hey, we got all this momentum. And then that goes, okay, we need to pull way back. And all expansion just got put on the back burner. We're getting to a place again now. You have the A's have figured out their stadium situation.
Kind of.
The Rays have figured out their stadium situation. And you're getting to a point where, all right, is expansion going to be something that is in the cards for Major League Baseball? And you just got to position yourself to be in the best spot possible. Mm-hmm. They've been doing that legwork, right? Does it come to fruition? Who the hell knows? But this is exciting to me. And I don't like, there are so many people that are so negative about everything about it. The negativity that I have about it is that they have bad traffic there now.
It is.
You're going to try to get 50,000 people in and out of there?
Yeah. And it is a hellscape for traffic. And they're currently redoing 217. Like, I need to tell everybody this. They're currently redoing a throughfare at 217 when in reality, you would need to redesign the entire transportation ring around this area. Like, full disclosure, my in-laws live on the backside of this property. I'm very well aware of what this is going to do.
Hello, Danny's Inheritance.
Yeah, it's going to be something if that actually ends up happening. That's for sure. But they're stuffed in there already. Now, maybe you can do some things to alleviate some things to get away from the streets, so to speak, because again, it is 164 acres. But what they're talking about doing is building a complex very similar to what you saw down in Atlanta, but even bigger.
Yeah, this would be the biggest one in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
Like the downtown locations was all about, it was very small, and you'd have postage stamps, and they'd be very small areas, whether it's Lloyd Center or down on the river. Those were all going to be very small. This would be the biggest area where you could put that entertainment district. And look, I understand that people are like apprehensive and they are saying, we've seen this before. We heard this before. We're not going to believe it. I understand that. But I am never going to knock a group of people that are trying to bring something that is, like, they're trying to put, like, this is like a $2 billion project and it's mostly private money. Mm-hmm. It's actually all private. $2 billion privately
because the
funded.
city is not going to give a dime.
No, and they know that.
Yeah.
They know that. Will there be some infrastructure stuff that the city probably needs to do anyway?
Some tape is cleared away? Yeah. But there's not going to be some levy or some bond or some 30% fundraising effort. No, it's going to be somebody with dumb money coming in and footing most of the bill.
They're not trying to hold it over our heads like most ownership groups do, right? And say, well, we want the city to pay for it. It's not going to happen. No, that's not the way that this is going. So if there's people that want to do that, I will say more power to you, because I would love to have Major League Baseball in
Absolutely.
Portland. I think everybody that is negative about it right now is they would love to have baseball here too.
Yes.
And
we're just tired of hearing here we go again, spun up for it.
Dude, I get it.
Yep.
But some of the vitriol that it's coming out about the Portland Diamond project, it's like, why are you upset? Because you got excited, 7 years ago and it didn't come to fruition. Well, there's a lot of things that happen, but in that 7 years, this is, even if it is a slow play, I love it. The location, in theory, I absolutely love it. Anything on the west side that's close to where I live, hells yeah, sign me up. It will deter me from ever driving down 217 again.
Yeah,
but I would love.
You could come Airbnb at my place,
dude.
I think a couple different things. One, I think a lot of the people that are so angry about the location just don't like that it's not a centrally located location,
like in downtown,
that it's on the west side.
Yeah,
I would argue that being on the west side is more centrally located, but
right. Well, but you'll have a lot of your East Siders being like, oh, I don't want to go all the way to Beaverton. Anyway.
Then drive to Seattle.
Right, exactly. And then as far as the traffic goes, yes, traffic would be a nightmare right there, as it already is a lot of the time anyway.
The only place that in the metro area that they could put something like this and actually have it work is off of I-5 in the Tualatin-Wilsonville area.
Well,
like if you're talking about land usage and having the ability to expand roads around it, like that's literally the only place you
or
can physically
Delta Park.
put.
And so
it has to be to an extreme.
And my point was that a lot of the other centrally located ones, like people wanted, next to MODA or
Lloyd Center,
current Lloyd Center. Traffic's already a nightmare around there.
How are things going on 84 about now?
Right, exactly. People bitch about 217. 84 sucks all the time too.
So the suck factor is going to be high no matter what as it pertains to that. But just to kind of get to pure scaling, how big do you think the land lot is for the MODA Center Entertainment District? Like all of, not MODA building.
Boy, that is a very loose term, entertainment district.
But that's what it is zoned as.
20 acres?
You're not far off. It's 30.
30? Yeah.
So you have more than 5 times that footprint.
Yeah.
Of what they're trying to put in there.
That's awesome.
To give an idea of what they're trying to do or hope to accomplish.
Well, and one of the things that is going to make that traffic worse is that housing is part of this too. So they're going to bring people in.
No, I mean, not only that, but literally across the street, Jeff, where you Whitford Middle School, and you've got the this is the middle living neighborhood.
Yes.
For those that are not
I think
familiar
those neighbors do have a gripe. Like that would be like. Those are the people that rightfully are upset because that's a lot of traffic that's coming in, but it's something kick-ass that's going to be right next to you.
Also
and guess what? You're going to get a pretty penny.
Yeah,
penny.
It's going to drive the value of that housing area through the roof.
The location is brutal if you live on the east side.
Mm-hmm.
It is not easily accessible right now, but this thing is like, guys, we're on the 5-yard line going out. we're not on the 5-yard line going in.
Yeah, this is still got a long ways to go, but I would say I at least welcome the idea of this. Even if it's a 5% chance of this happening, selfishly for you and I, for any of us in this industry, having another professional team in this market would be incredible for us.
I say this all the time, and I wholeheartedly believe it. Portland is not a bad sports town. Portland is a sports town that does not have sports.
Yes.
Right? Because you look at the fervor that the Portland Trailblazers and the passion that the Blazers fans have for the team. The Timbers, the Thorns, hell, the Portland Winterhawks and the Hillsborough
Thorns are the most
Hops.
attended women's sports team in the world. Not in this country, not in this state, in this world.
It is, when we have something that's at the highest level in America, we have the Blazers, the Timbers, the Thorns, and people go.
Yes.
People go in droves. We have even these minor league teams like the Hops and the Winterhawks where they have passionate followings.
They have real draws.
If it is Major League Baseball, there is no doubt in my mind it will be a smashing success.
Maniacal.
And I'm here for it. I want it. I want to be alive when it happens because it is one of the coolest things to have a team that you can pull for. And I don't think it takes anything away from the Blazers. I don't think it takes anything away from the
different
Timbers or
seasons.
Thorns. I think that it is something that is nothing but good for the city of Portland. And look, the location, it's a tough one to convince a lot of people that, hey, this will be easy.
It's one more thing that Beaverton would have up too.
That's Tigard.
Is it?
I don't know.
Actually, I think the sign is literally at the golf course. So
Is it really?
I'm not sure which side it falls on.
I have no idea.
So,
But hey, it would be awesome.
No, I'm all for it. I know I grumpy meringue plenty of things. I would be all for this.
No doubt.
Another thing that I'm not myself, but all of us are all for the return of Damian Lamont Ollie Lillard Sr. Woo! We will talk about his return coming up here next. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
You signed your bubble balls.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by LaRogue Brothers Jewelers. Save up to 70% on diamond earrings. Visit larog.com. First on the Fan, the Trailblazers wrap up their homestand as Damian Lillard returns for the first time in a Bucks uniform. Shaedon Sharpe still out for Portland due to a lower abdominal strain. The team says he's making good progress and will start ramping up with light on-court activities. The Blazers are 10.5-point dogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. 7 o'clock tip on ESPN and Root Sports. Blazers are 14-33, the 5th worst record in the league. The association announced they're expanding the draft into a 2-night event beginning this year, June 26th and 27th. Round 1 will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, with Round 2 at ESPN Seaport District Studios in Manhattan. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Seahawks hiring Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their new head coach. The now youngest head coach in the league is getting a 6-year deal. The Ravens were number 1 in points allowed, sacks, and takeaways in 2023. And multiple reports say John Angelos has agreed to sell the Baltimore Orioles to a group led by Carlyle Group Inc. co-founder and Baltimore native David Rubenstein for $1.725 billion. Cal Ripken Jr. also a part of the purchasing party. The sale must be approved by 75% of owners, who are scheduled to meet next week in Orlando. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. The playoffs, the big game. Watch and wager on all the action at Spirit Mountain Casino. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
You're invited to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin and X Golf Vancouver. Sign your threesome up at 1080thefan.com.
Turning on your radio right now for that. If you just sat down in the car, that was not your throttle body going out. No.
I thought that was Jeff Rust, actually.
That was the leftovers.
That's Road Warriors. That's Hawk and Animal.
Yeah,
bro.
I can't claim those pipes.
It did sound like you. Try it.
What a rush.
Pretty good.
It's actually pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was you, dude.
So you got to change it to what a rust.
You're
got the emphasis on that T. That's a song that plays when you walk into your dispensary.
There we go.
Oh,
sure.
The Rust 503.
Yeah, that's right.
It's fitting here on a Wrestling Wednesday. The first of what I can only say many is one of wrestling's biggest fans. Damian Lillard makes his return to the City of Roses, where he started his career 10 illustrious years. And it's gonna be a moment. And I don't like talking about the magnitude of regular season games in a season of 82. But this is one of the truly special occasions because of what he did here in that decade and what it's going to mean to not only him, but to this fan base. When you look at this game coming up here, Dusty, in 4 hours, a little bit, 4 hours and 20 minutes, what is going to be your first thought when they go to that tight shot from underneath Dame's chin and you see that tear well up in the corner of his eye?
Honestly, when you said that, the first thing is the Rockets shot. Like that is just going to be like that's it right there. And then, I mean, there have been a lot of moments that when you think of Dame in Portland and what he meant to the Blazers and then what he meant to the city, like this is the thing, is that there are so many things that Damian Lillard did in Portland that people just don't know about, because he didn't always want the cameras there.
No.
The mentorship that he had with the students that we all knew about, right? That went way further than just him showing up at a school once a month or, once a quarter. He gave those kids his number and they were able to contact him if they needed anything.
Or the hundreds of trips he has taken to OHSU.
Yeah. Or just driving through North Portland with a U-Haul full of shoes and
regularly
dropping them off
giving them off to kids who need them.
Yeah. Just saying, here, go. And those are things without cameras. And those are things that he didn't want said out loud because that
wasn't part of it. No, it was the acts of service stuff.
He became a fabric of the community. And that is special. That's special in any era, but it's especially different now. And that's it. He was a throwback to what Jerome was, what Terry was.
Terry, Duck, Buck.
What those guys who made themselves part of Portland and part of the surrounding area. And that is special.
Which is why those guys, even though they weren't the players that Clyde and Dame were, which is why they were so endeared. Because you could go out to the pier in Oregon City, and on the edge of that pier would be big old Duck sitting out there with his lunch pail and a sandwich fishing.
Yeah. That will be, and it will be very emotional for him, obviously. It's going to be very emotional for a lot of the players. Shoot. Anthony Simons.
It's going to hit Ant like a dump truck.
I think he's going to be a mess too at the beginning of that thing. All this is going to go out the door though when that ball goes up in the air and the Bucks are needing a win.
I asked it on Twitter. When does Dame pull from the logo? I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to pull right away. I think a wink and a nod to the crowd.
I think that
let it go.
That's what I said. Would be the perfect. It would be it. That's what it should be.
It would be not an olive branch, but it's a wink and the nod and the acknowledgement of, and he could miss it by 20 feet or he could absolutely cash it and the result's going to be the same. You know what's going to happen is the crowd's going to get that wry smile and that smirk, and Dame's going to look up in the crowd and he's going to shoot a look to Anthony Simons, and everybody's going to know. And then it's almost like then you can play.
I'm telling you right now, that MFer ain't missing.
But
he's not going to miss that shot. He takes that shot. He's going to make that shot.
Remember, it was the Oklahoma City series.
That dude.
He pulled right off the bat and canned it.
That dude is not going to miss that shot. If that is the shot that he won't miss it.
It's
either that or he's going to throw it into the third row because he's all jacked up.
Yeah. But I very much believe that there will be an exhale.
Yep.
After that shot.
Yeah.
Like, now we can play basketball.
Yeah.
And maybe that's best. Maybe that's best. I am really looking forward to, for those that are unaware, there is going to be a specific time for Damian Lillard solely to address the media. We will be there before the game, 4:45.
Yeah.
You'll start seeing this stuff. The video probably roll out of that immediately. But they have a separate spot for him before coach's availability where he will address all the local media. I'll be there. All
pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's what's going to come out of that discussion. I don't think is going to be earth-shattering or groundbreaking, but you're going to start to see the emotions.
Yeah,
and that'll be the build to this tonight. And I really want to. For me personally, I really want to be in the moment and document the process.
Yeah,
because much like the trade itself, when I wrote that 5,000 piece kind of documentary over the entire summer, I want to, these things don't happen very often.
No.
And I kind of want to just see the entire process more than anything, because it's moments like these that I think that we lose track of in sports, that they don't impact records or legacies or anything like that, but they end up meaning so much more.
Yeah, they do. They mean a ton. They mean a ton, and it'll be cool to see. It'll be cool to see him back in Moda. It'll be cool to see him going up against Ant. It'll be cool to see him and Scoot on the floor at the same time, even though that thought may change after we see what it looks like when he and Scoot are on the floor at the same time.
I've had people ask if there's any relationship, like animosity or angst between those two guys. There's none. None. Dame holds no ill will, and Scoot holds no ill will towards Dame. I've talked to both those guys about that stuff, and I've seen some weird stuff pop up here or there across social media and stuff like that. And I'm like, there's zero truth to any of that kind of thing.
No, why would a guy be upset, one, knowing the business of basketball and being like, you demanded the Blazers drafted you.
Yeah.
And how it worked, and he knows that. They both know it.
Yeah. So there's nothing to that. Again, if you come by the game tonight and you see me, come say hi. Pop by. I'd love to get your stories.
He'll be the guy crying.
Yeah, I will be. Like I will cry.
Yeah.
I am fully
good. I'm glad we got to this point after 3 hours instead of you said there will be a thug tier. No, I think it's going to be.
Oh no! Like in the media row, I'll have it together by then. I'll have it together by then. But underneath in the tunnel, it'll be tough. It'll be tough for sure.
It's fun.
All right, we'll wrap up today's show talking a little bit of college basketball and just what kind of state it is in.
No, we're not. We're going to talk Dame again.
Are you kidding? Yeah, you go.
Yeah, come on.
We're going to wrap it up with Dame. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. It's a weird day to be this involved in regular season basketball, but here we are.
I hated Rick Rude. I just got to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I think everybody did.
I think that was the point.
Yeah. I mean, Rick Rude, ravishing Rick Rude.
Yeah.
Like, nah,
Like it was a heel created in a lab.
don't do that to me.
Maybe they went too far with it.
They did.
You know?
Yeah, ravishing Rick Rude. No, not my jam. Like, there's heels I like though. I mean, Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved him. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I just hate Rick Rude.
This sounds like the closing credits of Saturday Night Live.
It kind of does. It is very. It's like 70s, early 80s sitcom-y.
Yeah.
It's very horny. Horns, like the instruments.
Like the basketball set.
Oh, I know what you were saying. I just wanted a clean drop.
I like it.
All right.
All right. Predictions for tonight.
Ooh.
Does Dame go nuts?
Okay, well, hold on. First prediction is Mark Mason says wearing the letter O.
I think he does the full thing.
I think he
does
goes
the full Monty.
And I hope it is, how he does the 34 from Greece, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And then the full crescendo build for Dame.
Yeah, and then it'll be, and where I hope it happens, and I think it happens.
I am
First prediction.
100% there with you. Mark Mason goes all in.
Second prediction, he pulls the trigger, logo, first shot. And then I don't think he really goes off. I don't think it's a 40 burger.
I think I said last night was Sprague. I think he has a rough night.
I think it's going to be tough.
I think he has a rough night.
It's going to be tough. Yeah. And then the Bucks run all over the Blazers.
Yeah.
I think that's how it goes.
The 7 foot, 280-pound Greek guy, they don't have an answer for him.
Yeah, no, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, because Dame has always conquered the odds, if he had 40.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has an in-between game. I think he either has a bad night or an obscene night.
Yeah. And Jody, I think, is going to be there.
I would imagine everyone is there.
Yeah. Neil O'Shea?
Well, not him.
Oh.
But of the current ownership
You think
group,
Terry Stotts is there? He's got a connection to both teams.
Terry just, sitting, on the, I would love
might show up now that
I would
Griffin's
love
gone.
to see. I would
Terry,
love to see Terry in the stands sipping a beer.
Yeah, like the
giving
Timbers.
a nod. Yes, giving a nod to Doc and Dame
near the tunnel of the visitors' tunnel, just sitting kind of in the corner, just sipping his beer. Yeah, I hope he's there.
Well, as I understand it, Terry Bear is off chilling and relaxing right now.